Hello and welcome. This is Artcasters chat number 10. Going into double digits now. Welcome everyone. If isn't here, may show up later. I know we got a Kevin Frost coming later. Got a few new people in the chat. So we'll do introductions, and based on how I see people in my screen, we have Andrew. Hello, Andrew. Welcome back.
Hi. This is my second time on. Exciting.
Yes. So just give us a brief glimpse of who you are and what you do.
My name is Andrew Jones, and I am a web developer and illustrator and cartoonist. And you can find pretty much everything I do at atlantajones.com. Everything from Twitter to Instagram or whatever, I use the handle atlantajones.com.
Cool. And we have Brandon.
Hi.
Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. My name's Brandon Kenny. I'm an illustrator, primarily do traditional artwork, and you can see my stuff. Actually, my website got pulled down, so you can't see my stuff right now.
You got a DeviantArt, though.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you can go to my DeviantArt. It's Ethrendil, ETHRENDIL.
Cool. Well, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And we have Jay.
Hey, how's it going? Jay Ferguson. I'm an airbrush artist in Canada. You can find me on airheadscustom.com, airheads with a Z.
And Jay does excellent work. Great to have you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Cool. And we have John.
Heyo.
Some caveman. I don't know.
It's an orc. I'm a nerd. I am, of course, John Grzeski. I'm on these things all the time. I've got a webcomic, Everyday Abnormal. It's available for viewing at everydayabnormal.thecomicseries.com. And we are starting a brand new chapter on October 6th, and you'll actually get to see it tomorrow if you're a supporter on Patreon. So, yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. And I am Peter Palmiotti. I make videos, comics, podcasts, blogs, art, stuff, and etc. And you can find me everywhere. So, who wants to start us off? Who wants to ask a question or has a current challenge in their career?
I have one if nobody else does.
Go for
I'm
it,
sure
man.
everybody's got a challenge, but go for it, man.
Yeah, I have low self-esteem. No. I do have a question that actually just popped in my head because I was doing a little bit of photo reference searching for some of my Inktober drawings I'm going to be doing, and it's always been kind of a weird thing that I haven't found that one good workflow for photo reference. I mean, normally I'll just go to like Google Images and just look around for something that I think is like the pose or the, you know. Usually if I'm doing like a movie piece, I have the exact scene in my head. So if sometimes I can't find it on Google Images and I have to actually pull up the DVD and get a screenshot or whatever. But like, here's my process right now: is I go to Google Images, I find a few shots that I like, save them to my computer. Because I have, I use my iPad at my drafting table to have my photo reference in front of me, so I don't print it out or anything. I usually email those to myself, go pick them up on the iPad, load them up, and then it's just me kind of flicking back and forth on the iPad, trying to do that. But I've tried everything from like posting, like pinning them on Pinterest and trying to do that, putting them in Evernote, and then that way they're synced up with both things. I'm just kind of curious, like how other people do it. I know I've seen Jeff like actually print them out, which I just don't want to. I don't want to use my ink for stuff like that. So I don't know, just throwing it out there for what you guys do.
Well, I know all my photo reference. I print it out.
You get enough detail from that?
Yeah, I do. Like I'll print it out, but when I do print it out, I just do it in black and white because the ink cartridges, God, they're not cheap. But yeah, I've never really had a problem printing it out. Like if I'm doing a full body shot, it works great. If I got to do somebody's face, I'll just make sure that I print the face out on like full size 8.5 by 11 so I can see it. And it works good for me.
Yeah, it's not an issue that I run into very much just because I work digitally, so I can pretty much just pull it up and put it onto the piece of art that I'm working on at any given point.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I use reference, Google, just search on Google, or a lot of people have like really good Pinterest accounts where they just have boards with awesome reference. Mine is pretty sloppy, but you could find a few people there that have everything, movies or TV shows or specific things lined up. Pretty much, I have my computer on my art desk, so I just click around to find something specific. I'm not doing like movie art. It's just reference for figure in a certain pose or whatever. And I don't print things out because of the same reason. It just sucks up ink cartridges like nothing.
Yeah, I print mine out. I refill the ink cartridges with like injectors. It's a lot cheaper, but I like to have them printed.
I think I might prefer to have them printed, but I've always just kind of thought it's kind of more of a hassle. And the other thing I like about having it on my iPad is like I can put a really high resolution image on there, and I can zoom into it, and I can reframe it, and like what I like about doing my using that for the sketch cards is I can get some reference, and I can kind of zoom in and out and kind of rearrange the photo to be sort of that same aspect ratio of the card, which helps me kind of sketch it out because I have like it's the same dimensions.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big advantage if you can put it on a tablet, definitely. But like I know with what I do, because I'm spraying all day long in my studio. If you touch anything in my studio, it's got a good 2 inches of paint dust on it, so I'd be pretty hesitant to have a computer in there, period.
Yeah. So what else is going on?
I might try printing them just to see how it goes, though.
It's
certainly black and white.
I think at least trying it a couple times might be a good idea, just because you never know what's going to work for you until you've tried it.
Yeah.
And sometimes stuff that you didn't think would work for you ends up being exactly the part of the process you were missing. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and because I've got this new big printer that I can print my big prints on and all that, and I try to reserve that for only important stuff. And then I've got my old printer that's in another room that I use to print just basically do junk prints. Anytime I need to print a receipt or I print postage or anything like that, I use that printer. So maybe I just use that to print off some cheap reference and see how that works.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's all I do. I have an old HP printer. It came free with my computer. Like, the thing's antique, but it does the job, you know. It's actually kind of funny when you think about it. Sorry, go ahead.
You probably get a $30 printer at Target and do all your photo reference prints.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's kind of funny, you know. You can get a printer for 30, 40, 50 bucks, but you go to get new ink for it, and it costs you 80 bucks.
Yeah.
The math doesn't really add up on that.
I know if I was doing movie reference, I would definitely like have the movie on, because everybody's always doing the same shots over and over. I would try to pick out something unique, which means going through the movie and finding something really good.
Yeah, it's hard to find unique reference for really popular movies. So I do that sometimes. I'll go through and try to frame by frame a shot that I like.
Yeah, that's my problem. Like, a lot of these movies I've seen 1,000 times, and I know the exact frame that I want, and it's a crapshoot whether you're going to find it on Google Images or not.
Yeah. Do you guys, when you do screenshots, how do you do that? Because I got a program for movies called VLC Player, and you can take a screenshot from it, and it takes a really good screenshot. It's pretty clear.
Yeah, I had to use that too, because you can't just take like a screenshot or a copy or something like that from like QuickTime or basically any other like I don't know, official video player or anything like that on the Mac. You try to take a screenshot and it's just like a big green square.
Yeah.
So I had to switch to the VLC, and it works really well, but it doesn't have it's a little harder to get to where you want. Like the scrubbing controls and the menu controls are kind of they're a little harder to use.
Yeah, it is difficult, but yeah, definitely. I found that to have the best picture quality though.
Yeah.
Anything I've used.
Yeah, I like VLC. And under the advanced controls, there is a frame by frame, but you can only go forward with it. You can't go back.
Yeah.
Because I think I used that for some of my Return of the Jedi cards, because I had really specific things in my head that I wanted to do for the card, and I just couldn't find it.
Yeah, I generally just use a screenshot for the cards at this point. That's too hard to come up with like a unique concept for each little card.
Yeah, I like the guys that will do a character sort of in their own style and stuff like that. And I'm with you. It's like at the end of the day, it's like I got 25 cards to do on top of everything else I have to do, and I just gotta make this work.
Yeah, time is money, right?
Yeah.
So, who here is joining in on the Inktober?
Me.
Besides Andrew. Anybody else attempting that?
Nope.
No.
I'm going to be perfectly honest and say I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh, well, I'll explain it real quick. It's I don't know if you're familiar with an artist named Jake Parker. He's a super good artist. I don't know as much about him as I should. He does some comic work. He does he does a lot of sketchbooks and things. He does these really awesome pen and ink drawings. He draws lots of robots and spaceships and all kinds of crazy stuff. And he's been doing this for a while, like 5 or 6 years. That he just started. 1 October, he just started doing these pen and ink drawings and posting one every day in October, and just called it Inktober and was doing it for himself. And so over the last few years, other artists have kind of picked it up, and they're starting to use the Inktober hashtag, and it's, hundreds, if not thousands, of artists are posting stuff every October now. So it's turned into this big thing, and he's even like this year he's like full on endorsed it as an open, kind of like an open source thing. Like you can actually download the Inktober logos, and he's made some templates for if you wanted to do like pre-printed stuff. And so he's totally like behind everybody participating in it. So I tried it last year, and I only got like 6 days into it. I think I got one of my daughter's colds, and it got me all derailed. But I've been really planning it out this year, so I've got like a whole page up on my site, and I've planned out actually for every day in October. I already have each subject chosen, and then I'm going to do. So I took. I pre-printed these like a 12 by 9 Bristol, and just cut it in half, and then I did kind of this template treatment. So it's got the Inktober logo, and it's got my logo at the top. I don't know if you can see any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So there's a 9x6
Cool.
then?
Yeah, 9x6. And then what I'm going to do is I'll just post them. I may not draw one every day, but I'll post one every day. So there might be days when I try to do like 2 or 3 just to kind of build up a buffer. But I'm going to give it a shot. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I can actually get through the whole month and do it. And then like every day I'll post it, and then just to cover shipping, I'm going to throw every one of them up on eBay for starting at like $3 and see what happens.
Yeah, I actually thought of doing that myself. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Like if I want to have an overall theme or a weekly theme or something. Right now I have no clue. Like what I would.
Just because it's October, and I'm a big Halloween fan. Most of mine are going to be like either Halloween, horror, or there's some sci-fi in there. So, I mean, there's everything on my list from Friday the 13th to Coraline to The Corpse Bride to Amityville.
Right. Actually, I think I would be into doing something sci-fi related. Like if I just use that as a loose term and either take from pop culture stuff or just invent some stuff along the way. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. Because I could see that would be fun for me. Random robots and whatnot.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like full-on, totally produced things. I mean, the point of it is just just pen and ink sketch. I mean, I'm sure mine will have varying levels of detail, but it just depends on what the subject is and how much time I have that day.
Are you doing the 100 Days of Comics too?
Oh no, I can't do that.
I figured that would kill you if you had to do both.
No way.
Well, I'm finishing mine. It'll be October 7th. It'll be my last day of 100 Days of Making Comics. So I think I could pretty much, finish off that and do the Inktober and hopefully do it to the end. We'll see. I tried 30 days of making 30 characters and only got so far with that. But that's a lot more intense than just doing an illustration each day.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I did a thing where it was 31 days of sketch cards. So I did. Well, the plan was to do 31 Halloween or horror-related sketch cards, one a day in October, and I actually did 21 that year. And ironically, I think I got another cold and it messed me all up.
Mm.
But that was a good exercise, and I sold a lot of those cards.
Where do you guys usually sell your artwork? Is it on eBay?
I've only been selling on eBay just recently. Most of my stuff, I've always had an Etsy store. But, I don't know. That's so hit or miss. Like, stuff will just hang around. Like, the other day, just out of the blue, somebody bought a piece that I did, like, 2 or 3 years ago. You know, something that just hangs out forever and just randomly sells. But I've been having a lot of success with eBay so far.
Yeah, Etsy to me seems like a real gamble. Like, not a lot of people are really into it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, like, I'm torn about it because the advantage you get with being on something like Etsy is that discoverability factor. You know, it's like people go on there and they search for Ghostbusters and they happen to come across one of my sketch cards. Where if you just have, and I do have my own standalone store, I have a Shopify store.
Right.
You have to actively promote that, and it kind of is this island out all by itself. Where Etsy is this place where people are already searching for something. So I don't know. I mean, it's to the point where I'm making more sales on Etsy than I'm paying in fees. So it's kind of like, well, why not throw something up there? But it certainly isn't super active.
Yeah. So, any of you guys, are you on Instagram at all?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
because
not.
I've actually, I just recently, I don't know, maybe like a month ago, opened up an Instagram account, and it's kind of funny because I'll post a picture of a job halfway done, and by the end of the day, I got like 50 direct messages, people wanting to buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, like, honestly, it's crazy.
I started, I don't know, I've been posting art to Instagram for, I don't know, a year or two, and I, like, in the short amount of time that I've been posting to Instagram, I've made way better connections to people. I've had way better interactions with people.
Yeah.
You get more engagement with people.
Yeah.
I've discovered way more artists than I ever discover on, I mean, DeviantArt, I leave it up there because I have a bunch of stuff up there, but it doesn't really.
It doesn't help you.
No, it doesn't.
No. Yeah, like Instagram's actually really blown me away. Like even last week, I was doing an Elvira portrait, and I had a picture of it halfway done, and I had it sold that night. It wasn't even finished.
And you just tag each photo with keywords, and that's how you get.
Yeah, like with the Elvira, like I'll put, pardon me, like hashtag Elvira, horror, creepy, horror fan, and yeah, you get all kinds of response from it.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, like honest to God, I did it out of a whim, out of complete boredom. Opened up the Instagram, and it's been one of the better things I've done in a really long time.
I keep hearing good things.
It's not just, you know, you always pimping your stuff, but it's like I've actually, you know, I've always had trouble like meeting and like starting conversations or building any kind of relationship with an artist.
Yeah.
And I actually have on Instagram, you know, actually gotten to the point where, you know, I've actually started relationships with artists that I think are really good.
Yeah, like you talk to each other quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. Even I don't know, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, I had done a picture of. If any of you guys watched The Walking Dead, I did a picture of Daryl,
Yeah.
portrait of him, and all these people kept re-tagging it at Big Bald Head, and I keep looking at these posts thinking, who the hell's this Big Bald Head guy?
Yep.
And then I got a message from Big Bald Head, and it's the actor that actually plays Daryl saying, hey, nice job, man.
Yep.
that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Cool.
Is there
Yeah,
like a
he's-
private messaging through Instagram, or do they post it?
Yeah, it's called direct messaging. So, like, if you want to talk to somebody, what you have to do is actually send them a picture in a direct message, and you can attach whatever you want for a message to it, and it just goes to them strictly. Nobody else can see it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like I said, I've had a lot of sales that way. People just direct message me, like, oh, how much for that? I want it.
Which is interesting too, because I think, and I'm sure everybody here can relate to this also, is like that's almost not the norm. Like most places, you would have people saying, "Oh, hey, are you going to sell that?" And then you finish it, and then it's just like crickets.
Yeah, it
It's
just sits
like,
there.
you know, yeah, you weren't really going to buy that, but I don't know, that the Instagram community is just different.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I'm falling in love with it. Yeah.
It's interesting to me how different the communities of these different social networks are. Like, there's a clear difference between like the YouTube fans and the Facebook people, and like you're saying, the Instagram people.
Let's
Hey,
just see
Jeff.
how long that we can not acknowledge that Jeff has shown up.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Yeah, I agree. They're totally different. Each one is like its own thing, and I don't know.
I know. I myself, I'm not a fan of Facebook at all. I do not have an account. I did years ago, and I closed it down.
I did that too, but now I'm back on there.
Yeah, I have a fan page on Facebook, and I don't know that it's gotten me anywhere. Like, I mean, it took me forever. I'm just now over 100 fans, and I don't see much engagement there at all. Nothing like Instagram.
Yeah.
No, and the problem with the fan pages is that Facebook wants you to pay them money to promote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
like,
don't see. Go ahead, guys.
out of 100 fans, you know, I might post something, and like a week later, it'll be like 5 people saw this, and I'm like, thanks, Facebook. Worked really hard on that, you jerk.
Well, we
Yeah, I don't-
talked about Facebook fan pages a lot previously, but you know, there's ways around that, but you really have to have a good following to start with, to build off of. You know, I have whatever it is, 1,300 something page, but I built it all up for, you know, years or however long I had it.
That's a lot,
And
yeah.
yeah, it's but as far as interaction and whatnot, I mean, I think it does me good, like posting stuff there that I do elsewhere, like posting the videos I do and art that I post up on DeviantArt and whatever else. Like, I see more people go there once I post it onto my Facebook fan page. You know, that kind of thing. So it's not interaction there, but it's a good bridge point.
Yeah, I mean, I do get a lot of play off of Facebook, even though I agree they do put a real stranglehold on your posts, but I don't know. I think if you post a lot there, and you know, just like starting the Artcasters group, that helps.
Yeah. So Jay, like, could you see yourself, like with Instagram, focusing more of your business on that, like posting all your work there and getting business there and whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm slowly working on getting more content to put on Instagram. The weird thing with Instagram like even when you post a photo, it has to be a square photo. Like they have their own template that crops the photo.
Right.
And for a lot of the pictures that I have of previous work that I've done, I have to do a lot of photoshopping to it just to so it will fit into that square template. And it's for me, it's very time consuming.
Yeah,
There's not enough hours in the day.
that definitely is a huge drawback to Instagram, and why they don't allow you to post from the web is just baffling to me.
Yeah, that's the one gripe I have with it, because it works great,
Yeah.
but their photo content is really annoying. Yeah.
Because what I do now is like I do one of two things. I have a couple apps on my phone that will let you sort of apply some cropping to the image.
Right.
So you can scale it down, and you can have some like black bars on the sides or whatever, and then you send that over to Instagram. I've gotten to the point now where like as soon as I scan a piece, I just take it into Photoshop, and I have a template that I put it in, or I just make it as a square piece in Photoshop and email it to myself, and then pick it up on my phone and then post it to Instagram. It's a total pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah, but it still works out kind of cool, because even, like I said, with me, most of my Instagram stuff, like I don't have a ton of content on there yet, but everything I do is pretty much like a progress shot. Like it's a job half completed, and I'll just, quick little picture of it, and then, people, they jump all over it.
Yeah. At least
Yeah.
the new iPhone camera actually has a setting to actually take a square picture, which I'm sure
Oh, yeah?
is because of Instagram.
Definitely,
I remember
yeah.
now.
But,
I did use Instagram, and I remember once you said that it limits the size to a square, because that was really frustrating, and I stopped using it. But now that you say you get such good feedback, I might have to go back and check it out.
It's worth
honestly,
the look.
like it is mind blowing the amount of sales I have made off that in the last month.
Wow. Why do you think that is? I mean, is there just not as much noise there, or?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like I said, I've done Facebook, hated it, quit it. YouTube and DeviantArt and all that stuff. But with Instagram, you really get, like, I do a lot of horror art for myself because I'm a fan, and
Yeah.
every time you post a picture, like Walking Dead or Jason or Freddy Krueger, you have really hardcore horror fans. Like, you tag that thing horror, and you'll get 200 likes within 30 minutes.
Wow.
And then you get the real hardcore people, like they're direct messaging you and saying, shit, I love that piece. What do you want for it? I want to buy it.
See, that's
Wow.
exactly why I don't even like. I'll post like process photos and stuff, but when I've gotten to the point where the piece is finished and I've scanned it, I don't post it anywhere until I have an eBay link ready to go.
Yeah, especially with Instagram, because like I say, people, I don't know what it is. Hopefully it's a permanent. People really over it.
Interesting.
Followers too. Like every time you post a new.
Kind of cut out there. What'd you say at the end of there?
Oh, you get really, every time they're messaging you asking how much for it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is it repeat sales that you're from the same people, or is it new people pretty regularly?
In the last month I've done, there's one girl that bought 6 pieces from me.
Wow.
Yeah, like I say,
That's lightning in a bottle.
it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, I've gotten some repeat customers from there too. Like I have one guy that all I have to do is post a Goonies piece and it's sold. I have another guy that I think has bought like 3 Friday the 13th pieces. Yes, I mean you hook up some of those people and they always favorite your stuff on Instagram. And the other cool thing about Instagram is I find so much new art and new artists to follow if you just go into, you can go into that place where it tells you how many favorites you've gotten, but it'll also show what your people that you follow are favoriting.
Yeah,
And the thing is, enough people favorite your stuff, all their followers see
Follow
that
you.
too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I shouldn't say met, but been in communication with a lot of artists I'd never heard of, but man, you look at their stuff and you're thinking, holy shit, like, unbelievable.
Is Instagram like? Is it just an iPhone thing, or can you get on with like an Android phone?
No, I have an Android phone. I have a Samsung, and that's what I use it with. Because you can even view it on your computer. Like if you have a desktop or a laptop, you can view the pages, but you cannot upload a picture.
Yeah.
You have to have an Android or an iPhone to upload the picture.
Right. Okay.
But it's actually really easy. Like with their templates, like especially taking a work in progress. If I'm painting something, I can just take a quick picture with my cell phone. You know, you got to hit 2 buttons, put in a description, some hashtags, and boom, it's up there.
Yeah.
Plus, you can double post it to. So I'll use Instagram to post it to Instagram, my Facebook fan page, and my Twitter account and my Tumblr account all at the same time.
Yeah. Like I've seen that feature. Like I say, I don't have Facebook, so I don't use it. But yeah, supposedly it just instantly goes to all your other accounts. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I know a couple of artists on Facebook that all their posts are Instagram pictures.
Yeah. That's cool.
Like I say, it's actually really easy to use. My only gripe with it is that you have to put a square picture, because nobody paints anything square.
Well, what if you just, like crop it where the whole picture's in there and it's just black on one side or whatever?
Well, yeah, that's what I've been doing with like some of the older pictures I have. I'm trying to slowly upload them, but again, you got to go into Photoshop, recrop it with the black border around it, and it's all going to get done. It's just time consuming for me.
When you post it, you say people ask you if it's for sale. Do you post like the size and the mediums that you use?
Yeah, because what'll happen? Someone will direct messages, say, like I really want to own that piece. What do you want for it? You can reply to that message and say, yeah, it's a 11 by 17. It's on watercolor paper, and I never really it's not like I made a ton of sales off it because I'm pretty new to it, but I'll just say, this is what it is, this is what it's on, this is the size, make me an offer.
Yeah.
So when you post, you can put a description in there, right?
Oh yeah, like the way it works, like you take a picture of your work, and in the template, you write a description, what it is, whatever you want to say, and then you can add, I believe it's a maximum of 30 hashtags. So I mean, you can call it art, artwork, painting, drawing, Elvis, Indiana Jones, whatever it is. And it's kind of funny because you get a feel for the hashtags too, because they have a search feature, which I goofed around with, and I'm still goofing around with it, because you can do a search for, say, Star Wars, and there'll be 10 million posts for Star Wars, or you could do a search for Return of the Jedi, and there'll only be 20,000 posts for that. So then when you're doing your hashtags, you realize if I want to have more viewers, just say Star Wars, because not many people are looking for Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. What's, I know you as, like, Airhead.
Yeah.
What's your actual name, dude? It's nice to meet you. It's like the first time we ever talked in real life, I think.
Yes, nice to meet you, too. My actual name is Jay Ferguson.
Oh, Jay Ferguson. Okay.
Yeah.
You were the guy trying to get in last week. I didn't make the connection or whatever. So.
Yeah, my computer had a complete meltdown, and my webcam's still not working. I got the mic working, but I can't get the webcam to work right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just checked out your other video, that last one you uploaded. It was kind of like the portfolio video, which was really awesome.
Yeah, actually, I just put up a new one right before the show. My first ever painting and talking video, trying to take after you.
Cool, nice. Yeah, man, join the club. I love those.
Yeah,
Last
well,
night
you
I was
got me
trying
kind
to
of
work and I
inspired.
couldn't. That's cool. Last night I was trying to work and nobody had uploaded a video. I was all pissed. I'm like, what? I got nothing to listen to. So I ended up like shooting my Monday's video because I just like couldn't concentrate.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to tell you, I have a whole new respect for when you talk about uploading a video and video editing.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like the picture video, that wasn't that bad, but today I did a actual painting and talking video. That thing took forever to render and upload.
Yeah, those long ones. I know.
Oh, it was brutal, and it's not even long. I think it's like 10 minutes long, and it took like 4 hours to do.
Oh, Lordy.
It's got to be your laptop.
Yeah, like I said, it's antique.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like all kinds of factors, I think, but I don't know. You just gotta
I know,
like do it while you're doing other
uploading
stuff. I was gonna say you just gotta do it while you're doing other stuff, you know. I do it while I'm drawing. I lean over with one hand and click buttons and come back. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that could turn into a full-time job if you wanted it to, you know?
Yeah, totally. That's my full-time job right there.
I usually start at rendering and go to bed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do next time, I guarantee you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
So
sometimes, like, when you upload at different times, the traffic could be heavy. Like, I don't know, people uploading a lot to YouTube, and it can take anywhere from 10 minutes to, well, like you said, like 4 hours just to upload a freaking short video. If you catch it at the wrong moment.
No, I noticed that. You hit those popular times, and man, it can just be like, it takes forever.
That could have been some of the problem today then, yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on with Brandon? How come you're over there digital drawing, dude? You going over to the dark side or what?
Well, I don't have my webcam, so I thought I would, not just be a blank screen if I could help
It's
it.
a screenshot. Yeah, that's cool.
Everybody ragging on the digital artists. I see how it is.
It's got its value. I like to use it for like tonal studies, but I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's not real.
I'm gonna.
I'll tell you what. If I had a Cintiq, I would probably appreciate it a lot more because I'd be able to see what I'm drawing.
Mm.
Yeah, but those things are
is valid.
expensive.
I'm just kidding around.
Got mine on eBay for a third of the normal cost, and it has been the best thing I've ever bought.
Is it
Yeah, and I bet at a third of the normal cost, it was still expensive.
Yeah, it sent me back a ways, but you know what? It was completely worth it. It's the first time I've done what I consider to be really, really good art in my life. Because, as I've said a couple of times the past few weeks, it's the first time that I feel like I have been fighting with my tools.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, us old farts like to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's not taking anything away from digital.
And most of the young farts want to do it traditional too, so I'm finding I'm more and more in the minority these days.
That is weird, actually. Like, I've talked to some younger people who are like, oh, digital's like cheating. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Should be your game, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. I mean, it's like art is hard no matter which way you slice it, and it's a tool like anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need a few cheats in your toolbox. Hey, welcome to the show.
I think there's always something to be said about, like, I mean, I think even people that are digital artists, like, they don't have that experience of, opening up a new pack of markers or, dipping a brush into ink. I mean, there's something, at the risk of sounding hokey, there's something kind of magical about that.
Yeah, that's why I think it's kind of just a different thing, It's like a completely different set of tools.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody like grows up like painting that way, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could cross over because it's like a mental thing, but I don't
No,
know.
I tried for years trying to work traditional because I mean I didn't have a digital solution at the time, and I like the dipping the brush into ink. I mean, it was it wasn't that special to me, mostly because then the freaking ink would drip off of the brush onto the thing I was working on and be like, well, fuck that.
Yeah.
Pardon the French for the viewers who don't like that, but it's like, well, shit, now I'm out that piece. I got to start again. So I don't know. I didn't find that all that. I didn't find it all that romantic. Like I said, now I'm at least not fighting my materials.
Yeah.
That's my thought, or at least that's my experience with it. I totally get the tactile experience of working traditional for the people that prefer working that way, but
Yeah. Yeah, I remember one time when I was inking like a long time ago, and I had like a deadline and everything, and this piece I had worked like 2 days on. I got some ink on like the back side of a piece of paper I was kind of like laying my hand on. I set it down on my piece, and it just blacked out the face of the piece. And I was just like, oh my god, just all that work was just lost. I don't know. So it's not always better.
There's a lot of digital artists out there, and they're doing fantastic work.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Definitely. Just whatever tools you like, you know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. One way to skin a cat.
Yeah, if you can make money at it too, all the more power. But I just never saw like the business side of digital art.
yeah, neither have I. So haven't much seen the business side of traditional either. So I don't know. Some guys are just not going to make money at it. I think that's me. So
No.
It's just a matter. You got to find your niche, man. That's all.
How long have you been doing it?
I would say that I started in earnest when I started my webcomic, and that has been 4 years now. And I mean, it's all kind of a crapshoot, and there's always been mitigating factors. I'm just not worried about it. Like,
Oh, that's good.
Well, it's tough to make money off a webcomic. I think that's one of the hardest things to do to make money.
No, I know, but I mean, I also, I was without a job here a few months ago, and put some time and effort into trying to drum up some commission work and get that, and had one bite, and then the commissioner vanished. Thought it was going to be a longer term gig for a little bit, but I don't even know if she actually got the one piece that I finished, but because she just dropped off the face of the earth. But yeah.
You got a huge comic though. Have you done like a book yet?
Yeah, I've actually done 3 books. And
3 books. Wow.
Part of it is I haven't had the money to put towards like an actual store because things have been tough for me the last couple months. I mean, I haven't been hurting, but I don't have a lot of excess money, so I've had people interested in purchasing the books online. It's like I can't actually send them to you right now.
Right.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm considering just not worrying about making money off the art anymore because it would be a hugely nice thing to do, but on the other hand, it's a lot of stress. I've got a full-time job.
Yeah.
My mental health seems to be better when I'm not worrying about making money off the art. So.
Yeah, if you can do it without worrying about making money, then you've got it figured out.
Just focus on increasing your audience. That's all.
that takes time and energy, and frankly, if I'm, that's something I've been really figuring out lately is that I don't. Increasing the audience is a good thing. It really is. But I get home from work and I don't necessarily want to spend my night updating all the social media stuff and figuring out dimensions on ads and all that. I just want to sit and draw my comics, or like my big scary orc here.
Yeah, promoting your
Yeah.
art is like a second job in and of itself. I mean, outside of doing the artwork.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I'm kind of in a. I'm really trying not to sound down about it because I'm not. I'm just not sure where I'm going to be taking stuff next. Is all.
No, I agree. Like when I was working, that was part of the reason why I kind of got so frustrated with it. I think is just because like it was like a choice, between like what do you do tonight? Do you draw something or do you like post on eBay and all that stuff, or print up your prints and ship them and Like
Yeah.
at that time, I didn't have any prints up because I just didn't have time to ship anything. I don't know.
I think I've been fortunate with this job that I have now. Like, I get to work from home most of the time, and but before, like when I had other jobs, working in town in Atlanta, I'll leave the office all pumped up about I'm gonna do this piece, and I can't wait to get home and do this. And
Yeah.
90 minutes later, after sitting in traffic, I'm just like, I'd just rather go to bed. Like,
Yeah.
it just sucks the life right out of you.
Yeah.
So who here has full-time jobs?
Not me.
Not me.
I'm
I
out.
have a part-time job.
Does art count?
Just
Yeah.
me then, huh? Okay.
It's just it's like you're saying. It's too hard to do it if you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
If I would love to make my art my full-time job, but I don't know. Not having an actual job and then not being able to find any commission work, that really kind of scared me a lot, because yeah.
Well, there's a balance you can strike. I mean, I work enough to pay the basic necessities, and then all my art, anything that I sell in art is extra. But I don't work full-time.
How many hours do you gotta put in working, Andrew? Like at your business, your web design business, or whatever.
I do a regular 40-hour week, but I work for a company that's very kind of progressive with the way that we structure things. Like, literally, all they care about is that you get results, that you get the work done. So literally, you can work anywhere, anytime. So a lot of people work from home. So that's the good thing, is that most days I don't even go into the office. But yeah, it's at least a 40-hour work week.
Yeah. And then you're doing it full time too, Jay? Then doing the art full time?
Oh yeah, 20-year anniversary.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
I remember you
Congrats.
telling me that, I think in a comment or something, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And you did like just mostly airbrush stuff, right? Like kind of like the airbrush shop.
99%. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you painting a lot of that stuff locally, or are you getting work off of? I mean, hopefully you guys haven't already talked about this before I got here, but is it
No,
you
no.
getting work off the net, or like where's like the majority of your stuff come from?
Nowadays, like the last couple of years, it's almost worldwide, really.
Yeah. So it's like mainly the net is kind of like where you get your jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say about 80% of my jobs come from the net. I have a contract with Harley Davidson. I do a lot of their artwork,
Cool.
which is really good money.
Yeah.
Pain in the butt, but it's good money.
Nice.
I think my problem, like, to me, ever trying to do full time with my artwork is I've gotten myself into a position where I've been a web developer for 18 years, and I've kind of gotten myself up to a level with salary and skills that, um, and I've got a 5-year-old daughter, and a mortgage and insurance and all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
I can't even imagine, as much as I would love it, like I can't imagine a scenario where I'd be able to make the amount of money that I need to make to live in the Atlanta area. Um, the upside is that after 18 years, I still love what I do. So,
Yeah. Well,
that
that's the
it's at
position.
least it's not like I'm digging ditches or anything.
Yeah. But that's the position a lot of us are in, you know. I didn't like my job, but I didn't not make good money at it, you know.
Hmm.
It's tough to think how you're gonna make that much, you know. But
It's
that's
kind
like
of a
what you.
trade-off, I think, because when you're working a full-time job, which I did a long time ago, you're doing your art on the side, and there's never enough time to do the art, and then you're thinking, God, if I do art full-time,
Mhm.
where's the money going to be? But when you dive in head first and do art full-time, then you really dedicate every single minute of the day to doing art, promoting art, selling art, and it's tough at first, but give it a while, and yeah, that money will start to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, except it doesn't always do that, and yeah, some of us would like to. Some of us would like to have a roof on our heads.
Come on,
Yeah,
John.
well, I mean, like, don't think that I'm
Hey,
like rich or anything, because I'm far from it. Like, I mean,
I'm
God,
just, I'm
six
just,
months ago, six
I'm
months
just.
ago, I spent $30,000 on a back surgery.
Oh man.
Yikes.
And that was a lot of money. But trust me, I'm
Yeah.
not rich. I don't live in a palace, but I eat every day. I got a roof over my head.
Yeah. That's the main bit right there.
Yeah,
And you do what you love too, so that's pretty fucking
exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
But then there's John. You're just a pessimist, John.
I told you that thing, the whole thing of not having a job and then not being able to find commissions,
Yeah.
that put the fear of God into me. And I would love to be the guy who's like, no, seriously, everybody out there, pursue your dreams, but you know what? Sorry, if I, it's not like my landlords are going to give me a free month if I can't drum up the enough art, or enough art capital uh, after the first month. Yeah. Oh,
No, I
oh,
understand
Well,
that.
you've.
what's the circumstance though, John? Like, um, how long were you pursuing that? How long were you doing
In,
commission?
in, until I found another job, but I didn't find another job for like 2 months. So
What's that?
I
Yeah.
didn't find any I didn't find like any reliable uh I didn't find any reliable commissions in that time. And I mean, granted, part of that was because I was still updating the webcomic at the time, so that was kind of into it, and I was still putting resumes and doing interviews and that sort of thing out in the meantime. So I mean, that cut into the time as well. So it wasn't really full time art, but it, I don't know. It's a little leery. I'm a little leery of my ability for my art to keep a roof over my head when it didn't. When I was living on a friend's couch and it couldn't even give me spending money. So
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's
I
the
tried
thing
it.
that's interesting to me though with commissions. It's like, I mean, I do commissions, but it's usually when just something just falls out of the blue. Like somebody will message me on Etsy or something and be like, "Hey, can you draw? You draw me as Chunk from the Goonies or something."
That's a
But
cool one.
like, when it comes right down to like, if I was suddenly in a position where I had to really hustle to get a commission, I honestly don't know how I'd even go about it. Like where, like other than sitting out with a tin cup someplace. Like I honestly don't know how I would like announce that or broadcast that or like where you post to look for that kind of work.
You find the
That
good
doesn't just
corners.
fall out of the sky.
A lot of foot traffic. Sit out in front of the Chili's. There's a lot of people walk by there.
I'll draw you for a walk.
You get your commissions from your previous sales. That's where that comes from. So if you're not selling stuff on the web, I'd say you got, you got a chance you're going to get commissions, but that's pretty much where you're going to get a commission from.
There are communities too. I made most of my money 3 years ago doing commissions on the Scoundrel forums, which were just as forums for sketch card collectors, and you just announce when you're doing sales there, and they would jump all over it. But it's kind of changed since then.
Yeah. Is anybody going to that Scoundrel forum anymore? I haven't been there for a while.
I stopped.
I've never even heard of it.
Apparently, you're not going.
Yeah, first time hearing of it. Not.
It's a sketch card.
What's that all about? What is it?
It's a sketch card kind of site, basically. It's a forum for sketch cards, and a lot of the sketch card collectors, buyers hang out there along with the artists and talk. And of course, you can get business if you're doing sketch cards there. If you're doing any other kind of art, I don't know.
Occasionally they'll want bigger pieces, but yeah, it's just when I first started doing sketch cards, I just Googled, sketch cards and started investigating the communities and found that pretty quickly, and that was a pretty nice area for a while.
But now I think it's like kind of moved over to Facebook, like a lot of the sketch card.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. There's another forum out there. I don't remember what it's called, but there's a lot of people migrated over there too. But those kind of communities exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one called Sketch Card Fanatics that I'm on. I'm not super active on it, but I see people post on it pretty regularly.
Is that on Facebook or is that just on the web?
That's Facebook.
Yeah.
And then the same people created a spin-off Facebook account called Frustrated Sketch Card Fanatics.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a closed forum that are just for sketch card artists where we can actually talk about, problem clients and whether anybody's gotten their cards or they're, gotten paid or anything like that. So you can kind of air your grievances about the companies without doing it in public.
Yeah, what you're describing is basically what that forum was, so you're probably right, it has migrated to Facebook.
There's a lot of bitching and moaning on that one, yeah. Don't you think that posting off complaints on Facebook is kind of being public though, especially in front of a lot of the sketch card guys? It's a pretty small community.
Yeah, that's why I definitely anytime I have a problem, I'm really hesitant to even bring it up, and if I do, I definitely don't even mention the company, because you never know. I mean, those guys are probably in there, and you don't want to get blacklisted from Tops or somebody.
Yeah. Are you doing a lot of sets then, Andrew? I saw you had some Star Wars returns.
Yeah, I mean, I got I actually sold all those returns. Actually, I was pretty happy with that.
That's cool.
And but yeah, I really don't do a lot of sets. They offered me this set called Star Wars Masterworks right afterwards, and I think the minimum commitment was 50 cards, and I just couldn't do them back to back like that. So I just have to be real picky with. A, is it an amount that I think I can get done within the deadline? And B, I really have to like the subject matter. If somebody came to me and was like, hey, we're going to do a Dawson's Creek reunion sketch card, I'd be like, no. But yeah, I mean, Star Wars, now I can say I've worked on an official Star Wars set, so that's definitely worth something to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not, to tell you the truth. You did sell those cards for a lot of money, but it's kind of you also did a hell of a lot of cards for not much money. And not insulting you. I'm just saying in general, sketch cards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm so selective though, and like when I did a Walking Dead set for Cryptozoic, like I jumped all over that because I'm a huge Walking Dead fan.
Yeah. You're doing a bunch of card sets, right, Brandon? That's what you're telling me.
No, I'm not. I'm stopping
Really?
doing it. Well, I told you I was conflicted about a set, but I decided I opted not to do it because
Oh, really?
in the end it just kind of holds me back from pursuing anything, bigger. So.
It takes up a massive amount of time. I mean, to get to those last little bit of cards that you can sell, it just seems like, I don't know, man. I still am like, and I get the whole thing, being a sketch or a Star Wars artist. That to me would be the only draw to any of it. But it's like, 50 cards. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if I did 50 cards and sold them all on eBay, that'd be a lot of money. If I do them for them, that's not very much money.
Yeah, but could you sell 50 cards?
I'm sure I could have sold everything I've sold up till now.
But a lot of artists can't. They can't sell those cards. But the returns, they're more of a guaranteed sale.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Maybe it's my perspective compared to other people's. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be a huge difference between like me just doing a Star Wars card on one of my blanks as opposed to having it be an officially endorsed, approved, accepted card from Topps and Marvel. I mean, that's.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's a big.
And I'm sure it would be for me too. I'm sure it would be a huge jump in price too. But that's what I mean, though. It's like, is it going to make up for that 50 cards I just gave away? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what you have to figure out. And the appeal originally was that I saw people selling those cards, the returns for, upwards of $1,200-$1,500 a piece.
Yeah.
And that's what, I wanted to reach that. I wanted to get that, and I never really did. But it got progressively better and better, and eventually it just, I came more around to your side of thinking, well, it's just not worth it.
I've seen you sell some like pretty expensive cards though. Maybe not 1,500, but definitely got up their ways though.
More recently, yeah, they shot up, but for some reason it wasn't enough to really keep me motivated.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird industry. If there was some way to make it work, I'd love to get into it, but I don't know.
And you call me a pessimist.
Well, I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist, I look at
it seems like a real gamble to me.
That's what I was saying, but ain't nobody listening to me. No, I'm just giving you static.
It's a gamble, like you're saying, if you're putting your best effort into each of those 50 cards. But a lot of artists treat it where it's a sketch, 5-10 minutes. And then your returns are what you put your effort into.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny that it's worth more money because it's on a Marvel piece of Bristol board.
I know.
Yep.
Yeah. That's true.
Like you figure you could do that same piece, like a 11 by 14, whatever have you, and you could sell that for $20, but a returned sketch card is worth $1,000. It boggles my mind.
Yeah, it really surprised me because, honestly, I would not have been surprised had I not sold any of my Star Wars returns. Because,
and I remember.
I'm a nobody at this point. It's like.
Yeah, and I remember you made a thread in the Artcasters, and you were saying I'm gonna put them up for either 25 or 50 or something like that.
Yeah, I
even chimed in, and I was just like, higher.
Yeah, I was like, do you think I could get 50 out of these? And then I went and I listed them at starting bids of 75 and buy it now at 150. And within a couple hours, I'd sold one at 150. And then the other one sold for. I had one guy who wanted to buy 2 cards, and we did a little bit of wheeling and dealing, and he got a pretty good deal. I think he got two cards for I don't know, it was like $90 a piece, something like that. And then the other one sold at I forget. Maybe they sold it to 75 or whatever. But I was like thrilled to have sold all 6 cards at way more than I thought. Like, I was just like, wow. I mean, and not just to like be self-deprecating or whatever, but it's like honestly, like I don't have a huge following. I don't feel like. I mean, I felt like the name and the fact that it was an official card being sold by the artist, maybe that's another bonus too. People want to buy from the actual artist. I don't know. But I was super surprised, but really happy with that.
Well, they were good cards. I think just the name, that gets the search, and then those guys go around and they look, and they find the good ones, and that's the ones they want,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, the added bonus of being able to put that on your resume, even if you just do that one set, is that.
Oh yeah.
Well, this year, one of the requirements for entering Star Wars Celebration is to have some kind of license work and sketch cards qualified. So
nice.
It's a nice thing to have on the resume, but it's not something you can do and continue to make a living. I don't think. Just sketch cards.
I know. I don't know though. I did it for 3 years though. I don't know.
For a long time, Jeff, and you were making it work,
really.
weren't you?
Yeah, I was. That was my full-time living for a long time. But I never did any of the sets. Everything is just stuff I did and sold. So.
Yeah, there's something appealing to me about being able to start and finish a piece in a single day, and it's really easy to do it with a sketch card.
It is fun. After we talked the other day, Brandon, I actually drew a couple sketch cards again, and I was just kind of like thinking, yeah, man, because like just talking with you again made me remember like all the good things about it.
Yeah.
Because it is nice to be able to get a piece done that fast. They're not that big. There's an audience there. But then after I kind of drew them, I'm like, they're so small. It's so hard to get like anything in there.
Yeah, it really is. It's difficult.
It's hard on your artistic side. You want to like draw the size that you're comfortable with. And
yeah.
So I don't know. I just threw them up there, and I don't think I'll even list them now.
You should.
I don't know. Then somebody will want me to do another one, and then I'll be stuck back in.
Do you guys all accept commissions? Like, is it like just like you always want commissions? You'll always accept commissions?
I will, yeah.
I'll usually, I'll entertain any offer, especially if it's something that sounds really fun. But because I've got the full-time job, I have to be really careful. I used to do a lot more of them, but I do like cartoon avatars for people.
Oh yeah.
And I don't do as much as I used to, but like I still offer them, and occasionally someone will buy them. But I had a situation where a guy in France was asking about buying 2 or 3, and it was kind of like I knew it was probably going to be a little difficult because English wasn't his first language, and I think we had some real disagreements of like what we actually were talking about. And then he tried to send me some photo reference, and like I need like really good high quality photo reference if I'm going to draw you as an avatar or do a caricature or anything like that. And these were like 150 by 150 JPEGs that were I was just like, and I went back and forth with him several times, and after a while I just had to be like, look, I don't think I can make this work. I mean, I could have taken it and sold 3 avatars, but it would have been more trouble than it was worth.
Yeah, you got to be careful with stuff like that.
So I put in the chat, this artist goes by the name Nar.
Yeah.
He's a sketch artist, and his is insanely detailed. So
it really is, and he's done it for a long time, and he's made a lot of good money off of it.
Yeah, it's like on a little sketch card, he gets like a full-size poster. It's like insanely detailed.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. Yeah, I remember seeing this guy around.
I remember he had a campaign of collectors trying to get him to get hired by Marvel Comics. I don't know. I don't think that worked out, but.
Well, I was looking at some of your Return of the Jedi cards, Brandon, and I was just like looking at that, thinking, how in the hell do you get that kind of detail on that size card? Like, I'm looking at this Leia that you did in acrylic, and I'm like, I couldn't come close to that on like a full size piece. Like, I don't.
Well, I appreciate that. Took a long. I mean, I've been doing sketch cards for 6 years now, and when I started, the minimum was 150 cards for each set, and so I've done well over several thousand like cards that were done for deadlines. So you just get used to it. It's just like anything else. You just find little ways to, sharpen your pencil and get real sharp lines. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's no secret magic to it. It's just a lot of time and effort.
It is amazing how much time you can sink into like a small card. You'd think they'd just go fast, but I think sometimes they're taking longer than a bigger piece.
Oh, I was blown away at how long it took me to do the cards when I first started, and I grossly underestimated the time that I needed to spend on them.
Yeah.
But
Anything
you
that's
can't-
going to work out to like having to do a card a day, that sets off alarm bells for me.
Yeah, I don't think that would work, but that's at certain times, that's how I would work, and I could only get a card done a day, and it's kind of depressing when you think about the money you're making off that one card if you itemize it like that. Topps pays $1.50 per card, and that was $1.50 spent all day on that card. So, in a
That's
lot of
insane.
respects, in a lot of respects, it gets depressing when you think of it like that.
Well, that's how that game works, Jay. Is that these guys they do all these cards for that cheap money, and then they get on eBay and sell these things for like what Brandon was saying, $500, $600, $700 a piece, and that's what they consider their money. That's why it's such a fucked up industry,
Yeah, like to me, it just sounds absolutely crazy. You're doing work for free so that you can make money off a card that they returned. Like, I don't do sketch cards, obviously, but it boggles my mind. It really does.
Yeah.
Well, when you're just starting out and you don't have any clientele whatsoever, and you don't think that you can sell artwork, it's not. I mean, it's kind of nice being able to sell those returns without any worries at all.
Oh yeah, like I totally get it. And you can make really good money off the returns. Like I go on eBay all the time, and you see what some of these cards are going for, and wow, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a difference in what they're listing the card for and whether it's actually selling. Because every once in a while I'll do a search for Andrew Jones sketch cards, and I'll see that people are selling some of my cards that they pulled from packs. And I'm just like, wow, what you're asking for this card, more power to you. I mean, I'm flattered, but I don't know if you're going to get that much money.
Yeah.
I hope you do. Like, I hope you get a ton of money out of it. I'd love to see if one of my cards sell for $300, but I don't know.
Yeah. I know there's some guys, I think they just buy cards or buy packs, and they just list every card, no matter what the hell it is, up on eBay for tons of money, and just wait for the one to sell or something. Yeah.
Or the guys will contact you and lowball you for a return and then flip it like the next day on eBay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although
I'm
I
all
did
for
get a nice.
that, man. Send some flippers my way. Buy all my shit and flip it. I'm okay.
Yeah.
When I had those auctions up, I did get a nice note from somebody who, and I think he actually bought another card, but he had pulled one of my cards from a pack and said it was one of his favorite characters, and he really loved the card, and so I was like, well, that's cool. So, hopefully he'll keep that card, and
Yeah, you made his day when he opened that pack.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the other thing I did, I don't know if you've done anything like this, Brandon, but like, I won't do this if I sell a $7 personal sketch card, but when I sold, some of these cards for like, $75 to $150, like, I have these little pre-printed business cards that I do little sketches on.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone that bought a Return of the Jedi card, I actually sketched a custom like Boba Fett on it with a little thank you message on it and threw that into the envelope.
That's good. And those people, it's a really close knit community of collectors, and they remember that stuff and they share that stuff with each other. So, I mean, it's a good community to build a clientele in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I used to kind of do that once in a while, do some sketches and throw them in for extra. Now I just don't do that ever.
Yeah, I don't need that anymore.
And I do have a form letter that I put into every single piece that I sell. I have one that's for sketch cards, and I have one that's for just original art. And I changed them up recently so that at the bottom of every one it has the Patreon logo, and it says, if you like my art and you want to keep, supporting me, whatever, go to my Patreon. And then it also has like a reminder to leave some feedback on eBay. So I'm hoping as more art gets out there, people will start seeing that, and people that, especially repeat customers, they might see that a few times and be like, I'll kick him a couple bucks on Patreon.
Yeah, that's smart. That's really smart.
How's the Patreon thing going? You got somebody on there now, or got a few people?
I still have nobody. I'm hoping that if I'm super, super active and I can keep my Inktober campaign going, and I can get enough people to retweet it, like if Jake Parker can, retweets a few, and I think Sketch Dailies is like doing like a crossover thing with Inktober, which should really help. I think October could be kind of a turning point for me, because I'll have every one of those pieces, 31 pieces, will go up on eBay, and hopefully get a lot of social media traction. So that's one of the reasons I really want to make sure I stick with it, because I really think that might turn into something.
Yeah, I guess when I was seeing all those October tweets and stuff, I kind of was like, who wants to bother with that? But if you were going to list everyone on eBay and had an auction going up on eBay, that's definitely going to benefit you.
Yeah, and I'm going to do some videos of as many as I can, too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Jay, you said Instagram works really well for you. Do you use any other social media? You said you didn't have Facebook, but I was just wondering.
No, Instagram and my website. That's it.
And your website is just a .com. You pay for hosting.
Yeah, I got to pay. It's GoDaddy. I set it up through, but yeah, what I do is really different from what you guys do. I'm an artist, but 99% of my business is for motorcycles. So for me, in Toronto, every January we have what's called the Super Show, and that's actually the biggest bike show in North America. So I'll set up a booth there, and it goes for 3 days, and usually by the end of that show, I'm booked for a good 7 months of work.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, the whole motorcycle community it's a tight-knit community.
Yeah.
Once you get well known for what you do, it spreads really fast.
You know what also is a big thing on Instagram I've noticed? There's a lot of tattoo artists on Instagram. And, even though I'm not into tattoos, they're super, super good artists, and they also post a lot of their artwork. It's just amazing stuff. I guess you probably have to be a good artist to be a tattoo artist, but
yeah, if you can't draw, you can't tattoo. Yeah, well, I can say that because my brother is a tattoo artist. He's done. I'm covered in tattoos, and he's done a lot of them on me, and yeah, that's a very tight knit community too.
Yeah, there's
how's it going, Kevin?
Oh. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many shitty tattoo artists. I was a tattoo apprentice for a bunch of years in San Francisco, and there's some fantastic ones, but it's just like any other art. God, there's so many bad ones. And then what really got me was that a lot of tattoo artists are tracing other artists' work and getting paid more than the artists who originally made the artwork.
Yeah, you see that all the time.
So, yeah, I got mixed. I've got tattoos all over too, but I've got mixed feelings about about it. I didn't want to bring everybody down. Tattoos are rad.
It's alright, I already got that portion of the Artcast covered earlier, so.
You need to run a Kickstarter, John. That's how you're going to make your bundle. No?
It's. Let's move on. Let's talk about happy things now.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just looking at your website, though, John. I guess, or Jay, I never have got over here for some reason, even though you kind of comment on my videos and stuff. Fucking your art is amazing. Which I've seen a lot of.
Thank you very much.
I was just looking at these dragons and stuff. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I gotta go look too.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is that website, I think in the last 5 years, I've maybe updated it 2 times.
Really?
Yeah, like
Cool.
I'm really bad with that.
All this is just like old stuff and everything.
Yeah, there's a couple recent pieces, but yeah, most of it's pretty old.
Well, there was another guy that was coming on the Artcast a while ago, Sid Longinus, and he did airbrushing and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and he did real well too, or he said he did. So.
Yeah, like I say, like with me, when you're in bikes, like airbrushing's kind of its own little monster.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole different world, a different community, and like I say, with me, I do no advertising. I just got on Instagram not long ago, but for 20 years, I've made a living not really promoting myself. I'll do a couple, maybe 3-4 shows a year. That's it.
Yeah. Well, doing the shows though, that's some promotion right there. Maybe that's like just the way you do it. I mean, I know guys who just do cons, and they don't even do comics and stuff, and they just sell prints and stuff like that, and you know that's their deal. So.
Yeah, it's the bread and butter. Like, because when I do the shows, like the booth I have, it's pretty extravagant.
Yeah.
What I can see looks really good. I can't go into your galleries because I don't have a Flash plugin that's required, I guess. But
Oh, that sucks. Sorry.
looks incredible. You do everything just straight airbrush, huh?
99% of it, yeah. Like,
and then there's just no brushwork or anything in that stuff. It's all.
well,
just...
in some of my fine art pieces, and you're not really going to see a lot of it on my website. I'll use brushes, colored pencil.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, 99% of it is straight airbrush, freehand. I just do it. Yeah.
Freehand.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Is it like, so do you cut mats and stuff, or do you just...
The only time I ever use masking is, like, if I'm doing a portrait or what have you, I'll freehand that, I'll mask it out, and do the background just so I don't get overspray on it. Like, that's it.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible.
And what's your Instagram tag?
J Ferguson Art. Just the letter J Ferguson Art.
That's cool.
And Jay, you're posting on YouTube now. You're making a couple of videos. You plan to continue with that?
Yeah, like I say, well, like I said, a couple of months ago I had a back surgery. I was kind of laid up for a while. So I spent a lot of time laying in bed with my laptop watching YouTube, and that's how I found all you guys, really. And I don't know, you kind of lit a fire under my ass, and now I want to do some videos.
That's cool.
That's some cool stuff, man. I'm looking at the Elvira.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like I say, that Elvira piece, I had sold it because I had a video of it, me pulling off the masking when I was doing the background, and I sold it before it was even done.
Wow. That's awesome. It definitely, doing videos, I agree. It's like, it's doing something for me, that's for sure, you know. People are suddenly paying attention. Or some people, anyway.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, anybody who's trying to promote themselves, I think YouTube's a great place. Plus, it brings in the human element or something, you know? I don't know. Just like watching Kevin's videos and stuff, you know? It's just like you almost feel like you know him even though you don't know him.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that works. Like, yeah, YouTube, Instagram, when you get a message from people, and yeah, it's like having a conversation without being in the room.
Yeah, totally. And it's much more than like email in a way, you know what I mean? It's like when
Yeah, it's
people
more
are writing
personal.
back and forth, yeah. But when you're actually hearing somebody speak, it's like there's something that steps it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do a bunch of podcasts, and YouTube is like so much better. You
I
know,
liked your podcast too, though, dude.
well, thanks. But editing those things was like a monster because sometimes, you get together with the host and we'd,
Yeah.
kind of drink. It was like a day off or something. And so that takes a lot of editing because we're, stupid and slurring or
Yeah.
whatever. And I don't know, the videos, they seem so much easier and kind of more rewarding because I think you're kind of forgiven a little bit, like pregnant pauses or saying a lot and stuff like that, because it feels more conversational, even if
Yeah.
you're not in the room with the same person. It's like Jeff, I don't remember which video it was, but you said something about you were bummed out nobody had like a video up or something like that, and then you're like, well, who's going to talk to me while I'm drawn? Um, stuff like that. And you can look up and you see their face, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like
that
hanging out with somebody.
seeing
Yeah.
their face is a big thing too, because so much communication is done through the face, and you don't get that through just audio podcasts.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And like I don't have, nearly the amount of subscribers or whatever that, the people who listen to the podcast, but I get more interaction from people who are watching the videos than I ever did podcasting.
Mm.
It's a smaller group, but for some reason they want to talk more, which
Yeah.
which is awesome, I think,
Totally.
because a lot of times
Yeah.
like the podcasts are like, well, it says that 1,500 people downloaded, but not one person is saying a word about this show, So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, it was weird.
That's kind of true, because I used to listen to, you guys, when you're on Comics Are Great all the time. I don't know if I ever commented on any of those shows. But where it's like YouTube, it's just so easy to, like, type a comment underneath it right there, Maybe it's just the ease of that or something.
Yeah, and it's it seems like with podcasting, I made some like internet friends, but with YouTube, it's just coming faster, like more friends all over the place,
Yeah.
And maybe it is because you see their face, and it is that human interaction, I guess, even though you're, talking about through wires or the air or whatever magic is working.
Yeah. The magic TV.
And you can make like $1 a week with AdSense.
Nice. Yeah.
Hey.
Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
I heard YouTube was going to institute some kind of donation, like Patreon, but right inside YouTube. That never happened, did it?
Not yet, but Peter was telling me about this.
Yeah, I heard they're doing like a tip jar or something.
Okay, yeah, that's what.
I guess it's still in development. Nothing concrete yet.
I like the idea. I want to see what happens. I'm all for that, but I
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know.
it doesn't work. Might as well get something.
It might
Yeah,
work. You never know.
Well, just another way for people to contribute or support you, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it too, like a tip jar type situation, might work better than like a Patreon situation because of like you're not signing up for like you're not signing in blood for the next 10 years of your life.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that does shy people away from Patreon is it's just forever. It's not like a Kickstarter where I can like be rid of you in a month. It's like
Yeah. Like I've actually had a friend of mine, talking about the Patreon. He'd be just like, man, if you were doing a Kickstarter, I'd be all over it. But like, paying you $1 a month forever? I'm like,
Yeah.
well, yeah. But I think
Yeah, I
that's part of, like, you know, and I see this in software development as well. Like, you know, I've actually kicked money to developers who maybe I use their plugin on WordPress, or you know, they have this little plugin that really saved me hours of work. You know, I'll kick them, you know, $5-10 for that, and you know, that's a one-time deal, and I'm done with it, and I can feel good about that. But
Hmm.
you know, so maybe maybe that would take off on YouTube.
And I've had like similar experience like with Gumroad where, I was like doing like back when I did the shorter videos, I probably talked about this already, but I'd upload kind of like longer versions, almost like with extras, kind of like what I do now where I just talk a lot more on Gumroad and just put it like, free or whatever, pay what you want, you know what I mean? So you could download it for free or give me a tip. And I was always amazed at how many people would tip me on there, you know what I mean? A couple of bucks, or even like there was a couple times where somebody gave me like $20 to download a video, and I'm just like, what the heck, But I don't know. I should start doing that again, actually. Yeah, I'm interested to see how it works out anyway.
We shall see.
Yeah.
Hey,
Do you
Kevin,
miss?
what are you working on? Sketchcraft?
Do you miss doing the videos, Kevin? Having
every single day?
withdrawals? Yeah, man.
Um, yes and no, I guess. Like it was kind of weird at first, to take a little bit of a break, and I was only planning to take a week break, and then like all the music that's in the videos is stuff I wrote, and played and
Yeah.
stuff. So I took some of my old songs and like took the vocals out, and then I had to chop them up, to make like title and stuff like that. And then the weather was really nice, so I was like, screw it, next week. But and that kind of got me over doing the videos.
Oh, really?
Not having to worry about anything.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, it's hard to tell because, since I started, it's been, I think, just a month worth of videos, just the weekly ones. It seems like the traction with that is going a lot slower, as far as like subscribers or numbers and things like that, than doing a video every day.
Mm-hmm.
And but I don't know, maybe it's too early to tell because after I finished the 100 days, I thought, okay, people are probably sick of me every single day. Of course, not everyone's watching every day, but
yeah.
I don't know. And then there's this like weird added pressure, like, okay, this is a weekly show. I got to edit it and do all this stuff.
Do it better, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't really. It's gonna sound bad. I don't really want to make them better because I want to be spending time on the artwork. But it's just been rewarding to be part of the artists on YouTube now that I can't really stop. Don't really want to stop, but
yeah.
So I don't know. I just gotta, I guess, figure out what I'm doing with these new videos, because right now it's just me drawing stuff and talking.
Yeah.
Over the top, and I don't know. A lot of people do it. You do it. I like watching that stuff, so.
Yeah, I go through that all the time, like where I think like, oh man, people are probably sick of hearing this stuff. I'm just telling the same thing again. Yeah. But it seems like people don't get tired. I don't know.
Yeah, or they maybe forget, or if you do a lot of videos, they're not caught up yet, or whatever.
Well, once people get in the habit of it, they really people like habits.
Yeah.
Once they've seen so many videos, I don't know what the breakoff point is or anything, but I mean, once people see it in the videos and they're in the habit of watching it, they'll keep watching it. It doesn't really matter if you're saying the same thing. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I hope to be the cigarettes of YouTube then. Have to every day.
There's people I would watch every day. There's people I would only watch once a month or whatever. It depends on who they are, what they're doing, their personalities, everything.
Yeah, that's true. Like when I look at like what I watch, a lot of times, You know, it just can be the most mundane thing. You would think nobody would want to watch that, but they're like some of my favorite ones, you know, and I cannot like miss them. If the second I see that video go up in my email, like, bam, I'm there, you know.
Yeah, Jeff, I was gonna. I think I mentioned this on Facebook, but like I'd never heard of that James Gurney doing the watercolor stuff, and
Yeah.
that's another example of like, I mean, his video. I mean, not only is he like a really amazing watercolor artist, but like just the production value in his videos. Like I don't know how I don't know how often he posts, but like, man, how do you keep up with that?
Yeah. Well, he
How do
doesn't
you
do
keep that level?
but yeah, I agree. His is like nicely edited. There's such just a nice little package, you know, really nice art, obviously. And he posts like, I don't know, maybe once a week. Not
I don't even
always.
think it's that much. I think I've been following him for a while, and yeah, he very rarely posts, but I agree his stuff is pretty top notch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna buy some of his videos too.
The watercolor thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I almost wonder
I
sometimes if
watched that
somebody
guy
else.
Oliver.
Oh, Oliver Pingilly or whatever his name is.
Yeah, the one you posted with him painting a lion.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious because he did the whole from start to finish with the painting. Then he had his friend who did the music on that video come on to review it, but it was like a joke. I thought it was hilarious because I didn't expect it at all. I thought he would be serious or something.
Yeah.
He's like,
It was a really
I don't
good
really,
video.
I don't really believe it. Yeah. Yeah.
That guy. Yeah, I don't understand. That is pretty funny, but I almost like, I don't know why he does that. He's done that in like other videos, you know. They're always just like trashing his art.
Yeah.
Like on one, he had like a pop can sitting on one of his art paintings or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, that guy's a freaking awesome painter, though. He doesn't post that much, though.
Yeah, I thought his stuff was really good. He's like starts out and looks very scratchy, but he really polishes it.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah, interesting way of painting, too. He almost like lays in like the blocks of color and then kind of like mixes the edges. I thought that was interesting, you know. I don't know. Just as a technique,
Yeah.
you know.
Also, I've never seen any painter who painted on the canvas like mix their colors on the canvas.
Oh, yeah. Mix it right there beside his little piece, yeah.
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 So that
Which was that?
interesting.
Was that in oil or was that acrylic that he did?
The lion was oil. Yeah.
Was it oil? You think that would have made kind of doing the background a little bit tough,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Way
Maybe
way
wipe it off
back
with
in the
something.
day when I wanted to be Bob Ross.
Yeah.
When when I was younger, like still in high school, and like I still remember like days that I was off sick from school. I'd just sit on the couch and watch Bob Ross all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried for a long time to do oil paintings and work with that stuff, and it's challenging.
One of my first
I don't know if I could try it now.
one of my first client gigs was an album cover, and I did it in oil, and I had a deadline. You know.
Oh.
Yeah, it was late because it was wet. Yeah, so I stopped working in oil.
Oil's brutal, man. Waiting for it to dry.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it
hard.
looks really nice and everything, and if you have the time, if you're maybe just doing gallery stuff or something, but working as an illustrator, man, no way.
I know, and I want to make like changes, and I want to start the next layer all the time. So by the
Yeah.
time 3 days to dry goes by, I'm moved on to something else.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
my
have to do
thing.
like 3. three paintings at once, you know, so you could switch off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what a lot
I
of
thought about that actually.
oil painters actually do. Is as I've seen, is they'll juggle a whole bunch of projects so they can work on one while the next is still in process drying. And it's like, man, that's crazy to juggle that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
I don't know, like I like oil a lot, but it's like the same thing. Getting it dry enough you can actually send it out, like if you end up selling it, you know, and then you got to photograph it instead of scan it if it's wet, which I don't like doing. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I remember, like, in San Francisco, there used to be, when I first started, there was a lot of photographers that kind of specialized in doing that kind of, like, art photography, and they would light it, you know, the thing from both two angles and stuff like that. 'Cause I've, like, tried to scan paintings and stuff, and back when I used to. Now it's just digital paint when I do that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's still, you still got to tweak, like, the levels and colors and all that stuff, and I thought, like, the photographers, they did such a great job back then, but, God, they were so expensive.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Art sucks.
That sucks.
Art is great. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, art's awesome. I mean, I really miss, like, you know, analog painting, having that tactile.
But you're doing your comic all with pencils and stuff, right? I mean.
Yeah, but that's like totally different style, you know. That's like cartooning or something, you know. I just miss, like, you know, wearing the beret and, you know, measuring everything with my thumb and like laying down a color and feeling like, man, I just changed the world, but no one knows it yet, you know.
That's awesome.
So I don't know. With these new videos, I think I might have to buy new paints actually, because I still have paints that have been in art bins for a few years now.
Yeah.
I might start doing some little paintings too, just to break things up.
That's cool.
Just for fun, I guess. I don't know, and try to sell them, see how that goes. I don't know.
I'm sure you could. I like those paintings, you know, you were showing, you know, all busting on them, acting like, you know, the self-deprecating artist, but when you were in your mom's house showing off those paintings, there's a lot of cool stuff in there, man.
Oh, thanks, dude. That was like student work.
Well, you were pretty good.
Thanks. It's funny, when I was that young, I used to think that being a good artist meant realistic stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And so I would try just to be, you know, realistic and be Frank Frazetta or something, but do, like, you know, punk rock stuff instead of barbarians. You know?
Yeah.
And then I started working and realizing that clients don't care. So I was like, kept simplifying my style.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Who's buying your art, you know, kind of, it does affect the way you do art, you know. I mean, I gotta, like, have an original to give to somebody, so it affected the way I went about things, you know. If you're just doing commercial stuff where it's, like, going to be printed, it doesn't matter so much that there's a real thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, so I work now, like, you know, I guess professionally in two styles, like the comic book stuff, which is still pretty cartoony, and then the stuff I do that is like kids book stuff. That I do for, you know, the jobs my agent gets me and stuff. That's something, that style is only like 3 years old or something. Because I was like, all right, I need to do something super simple that's super fast and make money now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then, the stuff I've been doing for 14 years or whatever didn't get me an agent, and the stuff I did just for 3, they're like, okay. So, you know, it's like, I don't know. Clients these days, it just seems like they just want things fast and now, and you know, and so it totally affects the way, you know, I had to go about doing art, you know. I don't know if things were financially different, you know, and if I had time to make things how I wanted to, you know, with the comic booky style or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been like, okay, what other kind of art styles do I like that I can do, and just kind of adopt one.
Right, right.
Yeah, that was all about time and money, really, to be
Totally.
honest.
No, I got a friend. He does kids books also. A lot of like, I don't know, they're like sports books and stuff, And he just never posts anything he does for those books. And I mean, like, I'll go and have lunch with him, and he'll have a fucking like stack of Bristol board with like 30 illustrations. You know what I mean? And it's just how he looks at it. He's like, oh, that stuff's just crap. I just go fucking as fast as I can. And it sucks though, because he like works so fucking hard just to get to that spot.
Yeah,
Back
I mean,
when,
yeah, it's it said in the 100 Days of Making Comics, some stuff about like, my take on the industry now or whatever, and it's like, yeah, working in kids books, how I do things, how I do the illustrations doing that versus how I do like the comic book stuff, is I ink everything on like just computer paper
yeah,
with a micron, and then I scan that in, and I do flats, and then I do color holds on all the black lines, and then do like one shadow tone, and maybe like little red in the cheeks or something, and that's it, done.
yeah.
And then I get stacks of that, and then in kids books, it sounds like, oh, that's cool, when I talk to people who aren't illustrators, friends or whatever, oh, that's cool, you're doing kids books now. I'm like, yeah, but you don't really do kids books when you do kids books. You sometimes get a break and you do one or two. It's mostly like textbooks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Things I didn't expect when I got into it.
Right.
Educational
Right.
stuff, and educational stuff pays awful.
Yeah.
So
probably maybe on a future show when we got a little bit more time, I'd definitely like to hear about the ins and outs of getting and working with an agent.
I
Go for
can
it, Kevin.
I can talk about it.
We're here all night. Go for it.
So with the comic booky stuff, I tried to get an agent for a long time, and I worked for companies that had big enough clout, I thought, however, it was mostly like in skateboarding and stuff like that, so I guess it's still a little niche, but in the niche, the people I worked for were big, and yeah, nobody really wanted to touch me, and I didn't even get rejection letters, nothing, just silence. But I was a lot, I guess, younger and newer in illustration, and what people want to see, or what agents want to see, and I think even if you're not doing like storytelling projects like kids books or comic books or something like that, they want to see some kind of narrative, even in a single image, So, looking back, a lot of my stuff was skateboard art, so it's kind of a lot of like almost pin-up type stuff, even if it's not like pin-up girl or superhero or whatever, like that, it'd just be like a figure, a portrait, something like that. But there has to be some sort of narrative going on, and that makes people remember you. And especially if you're going into comics or kids books or something like that, then it says, oh, you can tell a story in one image, and you're not telling a full story, obviously. What am I trying to say? By doing a narrative, you want the viewer to like really want to know what's going to happen next, or kind of creating a scenario that got you to that point of that snapshot of what you illustrated. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a lot of just narrative stuff. Stuff where none of the characters are looking at the viewer. There's a couple things going on. Really started paying attention to that, and trying to think of, does this look like it's part of a story, even if it wasn't. And then people started noticing, and I mean, how I got a list, because there's so many people that prey on illustrators online. Hey, buy this client list, for this exorbitant amount of money, and and people do it, but everyone's getting that same list, and you're out a bunch of money, and the people who might have signed up to be on a certain list are sick of seeing amateur illustrators at a certain point because so many people have bought this list that's available to everybody. So instead of going through that, and there's lists like that for agents too. So instead of doing that, I spent a pretty, I can't remember now, but I want to say like upwards almost 6 months of just spending like at least an hour or two during my work days or every other work day or something like that to just research agents. Go to artists you really like, and if they have an agent, it's usually going to be listed on their site somewhere. And then you go back to that agent site, see what kind of artists they do, see what kind of work they get. So it takes time, and then you get the names, you get your list, and you kind of at that point I think you pinpoint to say no more than 50 agents that you're looking for, and don't forget like the world. My agent is in London, and I'm in Portland, Oregon, so there's agents all over the place that are good and reputable and stuff like that, and you really have to do your research because I had a bad experience with an agent that wanted me to pay money to update the portfolio on her site. It was like $30 an image or something like that, and I was like, I know how to do this. You just have a WordPress thing. I can go in and update my portfolio for nothing. Oh no! I've got someone who's going to do it. I need $30 an image, and I was like, no, she wanted money all the time. So you really got to research the people, and that's also. It sounds like, oh man, but I want it now. I want an agent now. I want work now. It really pays off to be slow about it and take time. Do the research. But anyway, so then I sent out like little packets, like mini portfolio basically. And a cover letter, and I think my list was around 30 people worldwide, and then followed that up like 2 weeks later with a postcard, like you'd send to like just when you're like trying to blast out stuff to potential clients with a postcard. Send a postcard. Hey, what's up? Did you get that thing I sent? Did you like it? Was it cool? If not, that's cool. See ya. Something real quick. And then I got 10 responses, which, out of 30 seemed pretty good considering that I got nothing before, Yeah. And most of them were rejections. A couple of them were one of them was you're too edgy for kids' books, which I can go on a whole nother tangent about that in kids' books, which is complete BS. But you're too edgy. One person was like, not right now, but maybe next year. And then I got 2 that wanted me right away, which I was kind of surprised at. And one of them wanted me to like sign up this one day, like the same day. They sent an email. Hey, you ready? You ready to get this going? And then I was like, whoa. I don't know. It threw up a red flag for some reason. Even though it was somebody that I researched and thought, oh, this is going to be a good fit. Totally turned out not to be. There's a lot of problems with that one. So even if someone likes you, you still, it's like you're going to an interview when you're putting out your, sending out stuff, cover letters and whatever. You're going to an interview, and then once they have accepted you, on their part, you're now interviewing them, kind of. It's like the tables turn. So anyway, with this one person, I was in this kind of the interview phase, and every email was like, no, I want you to sign up right now, and don't worry about the contract. Will be out in 2 weeks or something. I was like, no, I'm not starting anything with you until I get a contract, because you gotta have a contract because you're kind of going into business with them, And some agents, maybe I shouldn't say that. That's not right. To a certain extent, they kind of work for you after you sign the contract.
Yeah.
And I've seen artists like, well, I don't want to make my agent mad because I don't want to do this job, so I'm going to do it. And I'm like, that job sucks. You better get your agent to get you more money, or just not do that job. Well, I'll make my agent mad. They won't give me any more work. Well, that's not a good fit, because it behooves them to get you good work, And anyway, I guess I'm going on a tangent, but.
So is their income solely on commission? Like I had heard people say that, no good reputable agent should ever ask you for money. Is that the
Right.
case?
You essentially shouldn't notice that they're getting a commission. I think, because they get a commission, and like if they do any advertising for you and stuff like that, a lot of times you're paying for some of that. I mean, they're paying for, it's like 50-50. Like, say if they're sending out postcards or something like that, you have to agree to that. If they're an agent that's just like, hey, I sent out postcards, you owe me $100. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, what?
Right.
Everything's got to be on the up and out front stuff, But yeah, so essentially, like, say they take like a 25% commission, then what I think needs to happen, and sometimes it doesn't, is that that 25% needs to be in the fee so that you don't notice. So you're kind of getting what you would be getting paid anyway if you were getting the job on your own. You know what I mean?
Right.
Things like that. So I think you need to kind of work it out to where you don't notice that you're paying them. Except for when they tell you that they're doing something, and if you agree to it or not. But anyway, so where was I? So, well, I guess that's kind of it, And then I finally just like settled on an agent that I liked and talked to and kind of had the same kind of vision and stuff. So yeah, that's basically it. Just spend the time researching and send your stuff out, and then when somebody likes you, then interview them a lot. And also, find some illustrators on their list that they rep, and send them an email and say, ask how things are going, because we're all artists and we're generally willing to share all the info with each other. So it's not weird to get an email. So I don't know. Did that answer the question, or did I tangent too much?
Totally. That was really helpful.
Cool.
Has having an agent like financially paid off for you? You think?
Yeah, yes, and yes, it has.
Yeah, so it was worth it?
Yeah, the agent I've been with now, I guess I'm going on 3 years now. It's been worth it. Lately, it hasn't been worth it because Jeff and Peter might have seen this, but on the 100 days where I just was like, fuck the illustration business, sucks. And I told my agent how I was feeling about it, and so now they're I think they're being more selective. I think I need to talk to them and be like, look, I think they're trying to just get me like the very top tier jobs now. So I've seen a little bit of drop off, but I also kind of told them that I'm in this position where I feel like I hit a ceiling in the illustration business, and it's either going to be like this till I'm dead, or it's like, I don't know, working at the grocery store and you're the manager, but you'll never be anything else. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do this for a few more decades and still be where I'm at. So so things have slowed down, but I guess it's kind of because I told them to. But a little bit more than I wanted it to. But it was like a jump off the cliff moment when I called them. I was like fuming about the business.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried. And they're all the way in London, so like we can go have lunch, and I'm like, I just had one of those days. Come on, it's cool, right?
Although they work with nothing but artists, you got to figure that they're kind of used to some of that.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I was getting they were giving me so much work, like so much. Like one of the I guess kind of coolest is like within the first. Oh, that's another thing you should consider that I should bring up too is when you get an agent, be prepared for 2 or 3 months of no work because they got to sell you during that time, you know. And 2 or 3 months went by and there was nothing, and then all of a sudden it flooded. The week my daughter was born, and I was like,
man.
and I took everything. But in that week, Scholastic, I've done work for Scholastic, which sounds rad on the resume. You know, and they were great to work with. That's not, I'm not saying they weren't awesome to work with, but you know, they just didn't make me rich. Like when I was a kid, if I was like, oh, I'm working for Scholastic, I made it. You know, something like that. But it was kind of cool. They do, you know, when you were in elementary school and you get those like circulars every couple months or something where you order books and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
Yeah. So they do that, and I can't remember what it's called, but now they have a mascot, and it's this dog that reads books, and I can't remember his name, but I redesigned him, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, you know. But that was pretty fun.
That's cool.
But and then they get so much education work, and it's so time consuming, and it's soul crushing, and just the money, the payoff versus the time you work that's just not worth it for me, and that's kind of when I hit a breaking point a little bit. And like gotta call them up, and you know, to call them up and be able to talk to somebody, I have to stay up till like 3 or 4 in the morning. So I'm already kind of crazy. Like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone it's an agency. Like, there's a lot of reps that are just like, you know, the rep and maybe a couple assistants. And this is an agency that has reps in all the territories in the world and stuff. So you have reps everywhere. Like, I got a rep in New York, I got a rep in London, I got a rep somewhere in Australia, somewhere in Korea, you know, through this agency. But that's something to consider too when you get an agent, because they're so big. They have tons and tons of other artists, you know. So you might get better work or be a better fit with an agent that is just the agent who's got a small roster and an assistant, you know, because you'll get more attention, you know. So yeah, you know, I mean, it's a crapshoot, and then if you get an agent, you know, you can always fire them. So.
Did you ever go?
You're not locked into a contract?
You are, you know, because you want to sign a contract because you want everything to be up front, of course, like, you know, how much commission they get, when they pay you, if there's a dispute, who deals with that. That's a nice thing, if there's a dispute. It's not like I'm a real troublemaker in the art business with my clients or anything, but if there's kind of something that you're like, you know, this client's really pissing me off right now, but I can't really tell them. And they're like, oh, we'll take care of it, you know. And then they come back and they're like, hey, you just got $200 extra today, you know, or something. I don't know. But getting out of a contract, you can do it, and you have to do it in writing, and so it's all legal and stuff like that. But some of the stuff like that I've done is there's a potential for royalty if like a book sells a bunch or whatever, you know, a product does. They're going to keep getting some of the commission because they got you that job, you know. Stuff like that, you know, stuff that they got you. You can't just like get like a really big job and then all of a sudden become famous and be like, hey, fuck you, and then, you know, cut that string. They're still going to make that commission. So, you know, there's that kind of stuff. But then any future job, some agents that I've heard of, but I never encountered, luckily, I guess. Even if you get outside work yourself, someone calls you, you have to say, oh, talk to my agent legally. Yeah, I wouldn't do that because, like, one of my biggest clients last year I would have lost if I had to do that, you know. Or I would have not lost, I would have made a considerable, you know, less amount. So I don't know. There's a lot of things to consider, I guess.
Did you ever try? Yeah. Did you ever try, like, you know, getting that kind of work on your own, Kevin, or was it just pretty much just through this agency and that's it? You know what I mean? Like before you got an agent, did you try to be like an illustrator? I mean, what drove you to get an agent?
So what drove me to get an agent is previous to that, I had gotten work on my own, independently. Uh, I got kind of lucky, I guess. When I was in art school, I went to art school late in life. Like I was in my late 20s, almost 30 when I started. And my roommate at the time was working for Marvel Comics as an inker. And so then I got some of his like overflow work, So I got kind of a foot in the door early. And then I grew up in the Bay Area as in punk bands and a skateboarder, so I got in the skate industry real easy because it was dudes I knew from when we were like, punk rock teenagers partying together, and now they own skate companies,
Yeah.
So I had a good springboard to jump off of, so I did that on my own, but I had become like really enamored with like I don't know, probably like 10 years ago, I got really into, which is really hip now, I guess. So it's probably going to end soon. But like the mid-century cartooning kind of stuff, like UPA animation and Jim Flora, like the artists, it's like this abstracted cartooning kind of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really liked the look of that, and I wasn't doing that stuff at all, and that's when sort of like the big recession hit and everything, and it was like my illustration career went from this like high to nothing, and something needed to change, because things were changing, and
Right.
so that's when I was, going back to what I was saying earlier, is I was like, okay, well I need a style where I can do it really fast and make the same amount as this other style that takes me like 4 times as long to do it, because as and I think we're still in that after the recession, and now the business completely changed where people are. I don't think people care as much about good art anymore. They just want, hey, we need you to draw a puppy, and we need it tomorrow. We don't care how you do it, we don't care what it looks like. We'll send you a couple bucks if you draw this puppy and do it tomorrow. So I could either do my old style, which would have been like an all-nighter if they wanted it tomorrow, or I could do this style based on 50s abstracted cartooning kind of stuff and do it in like 4 hours, and still have the rest of the day to do something else,
Yeah.
So that came up, and then there's some really great illustrators in kids' books. I mean, it's like everything else. There's some really awful ones too, but and I've always liked comic books and any kind of story-based medium,
Yeah.
And so I just always knew that I just wanted to do something that had to do with stories. And I started thinking about like, oh, what if I start like practicing this like kind of 1950s inspired stuff and start going more towards kids' books, and it's faster and I'll make the same amount of money in less time, I guess. So, so that was kind of the genesis of that, And then, but I had no idea how to get in because it's really, there's a lot of doors closed in that world, And to a certain extent, I got kind of opened it up a little bit with some of the podcasting I did.
Yeah.
And at that point that I tried to get into kids' books, the podcasts were had been over for a couple years, I think, or I'd left anyway, because I think a couple are still going on. But so a couple of people who were working at kids' books were like, "Oh, I love your podcast. Here's a phone number to call this person. Tell them I sent you. It's just, I don't know. It's you hear this from a lot of artists. There's no one way in anywhere. For people, and it's a lot of work. I don't know who said it when I first got into it. Saying, after a month, there wasn't any freelance work, and I remember when I started, and it taking like way more than a month to get a career going. It takes a real long time to get any of this going, but so I kind of had a foot in the door with with kids books a little bit, but everything, you know, all the other doors. Once I open one door, there'd be a door right behind it or right in front of it that would close and be like, "Oh, you don't have an agent. You're not getting through here. I don't care who you know." You know,
Right.
it's so I was like, "All right, well, I got to get an agent," and then yeah, so I just went through that whole process of looking for one, and you know, and I heard a lot that I was too edgy for kids books, and I was like, you know, in my mind I was thinking like, well, what about all these like subversive people for their times, like, you know, Maurice Sendak and stuff. He's
Right.
dead, and his stuff's never going out of print, you know.
Well, he wasn't supposed to get in the first place.
No, yeah, and that's the thing about kids books is you hear people, you know, that's not safe, that's too edgy, that's too dangerous, we can't do this, you know, certain things in kids books, you know, you're too much of a rebel rouser for kids books, blah blah whatever, and then every year the book that wins those seals, you know, they're all the people who are too edgy, you know.
Yeah.
And but they're not the safe bet, and you know, some people that was the thing I heard too. Oh, we're not the safe bet, but when I've done the stuff in kids books that's been the safe bet, it goes out of print the next year because it doesn't, you know, it's I don't know. Now I'm going on a tangent because I kind of fought to get in a little bit. I got the agent, but I was still like fighting to break down those doors, you know. And,
Yeah.
So when it comes to illustrating a kid's book, I mean, how, like, do you ever have like any real interaction with the author, or is this
No.
just like you just go through the agent and you do your thing, or do you actually get to collaborate?
No, from what I've heard is the people who are like, you know, children's book celebrities, I guess, for lack of a better term, they kind of have more carte blanche to pick the artists and talk to them and have it more of a collaboration. But when you're like somebody like me, you know, say Simon and Schuster has a new kids book, and the author has no idea who you are, but Simon Schuster likes your work and thinks it's going to fit, so you get the job, and the author has to live with it. The author might hate your work or love it, you know, but yeah.
Because I think of it like I'm thinking of these examples like Neil Gaiman having a book illustrated by Scotty Young. I can't imagine that they didn't get together and were on the same page.
Oh yeah, well see, those are two names that are like really popular.
Yeah.
You know, having even one of their names on a book is going to sell it. Now having two of their names on the same book, it's, you know, that's like quadruple sales. So that for sure they got to talk. But yeah,
Just seems so just awful for the creative process that you would write this thing, and like the end product, and I'm thinking as, you know, the father of a 5-year-old girl, it's like this end thing that's going to be read at bedtime. Like, these two people didn't talk to each other. It seems so weird to me.
Yeah, I did. It is kind of weird. Kinda. I mean, you get used to it. But I did this book, I guess, a couple years ago now, and the author, we got in contact like 3 months ago, because like the project's well over and it's on the shelves and everything like that. And she just emailed me out of the blue and luckily liked what I did. So we've just been talking now since. But yeah, during the whole thing, you know, you just don't, you know. And on one hand, I can see how, you know, why it's like that. But on the other hand, you know, I think, what am I trying to say? It might be a thing of like too many cooks in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Because ultimately the publisher, and this, you know, it sounds real crass and everything, they just want to make money. You know, they're not in the business of like, hey, this book is going to change the world. They're like, you know, if this book changed the world, that's great because then we'll get more money, you know. So if there's too many cooks in the kitchen, it slows down the process. You know, and then there's like there's too many conversations that take up too much time that, you know, where someone could be butthurt because, you know, someone's words got misinterpreted or something. I don't know. So, but usually when you're working on kids' books and you're working for like the bigger publishers, the art directors are really good. You know, they've got they're generally artists themselves, which actually before the recession seemed like most art directors were, but now they're just like person who got a job because they picked the colors at their parents' house or something. I don't know. But I'm totally never getting a job again if anyone listens to this. But yeah, so, you know, I don't know. The art directors for the bigger publishers are really good, I guess is my thing, you know. My other solution for that is like there's a couple schools of thought in kids' books where, and I don't really understand why, but I guess a while ago it was like unfashionable for an author to be the illustrator.
Yeah.
For some reason, but now it's the thing. If you can do both, then you've got, you know, a leg up. So, you know, that's another thing too. If, you know, author writes words but they can't draw. Sorry.
So that's another question is like, so you say you come up with a story and characters and this is kind of your property. Can you take that to your agent to have something done with that, or is that like not what they do?
You can. It depends on the agent, I think. And the reason why I say think is because, you know, the agency I'm with has a literary agent as well, a literary agent branch, which is a little bit different, I guess, than, you know, and I can't tell you exactly the different nuances, but like there's like the art branch and then the literary agent branch, or you can just get a literary agent too. That's another route to go that some illustrators do. And a literary agent works with a lot more authors, artists a lot of times. But yeah, so my agent now, I wrote a couple drafts and stuff for some stories, and they were pitching them for a while in New York. So I was talking to the rep in New York a lot, and then she left to start her own agency, and then everything stopped on that. So, but I was getting bites. I didn't no one took it, but I was actually got to a point where I was emailing back and forth directly with a couple publishers, you know, and my agent had set that up, but for whatever reason they didn't like it good enough to pick up. But yeah, so you can, I guess is. But yeah, if you're looking for an agent, I mean, research if that's something that they do also, because
right.
You know, and the other thing too, if you really like, you know, an art rep and they don't do the literary stuff, make sure that you can get a literary rep as well. You know, like if you don't want to let go of that art rep because they're too awesome, but you want to write your own stories and get that stuff going. So
right.
So that's something to consider. I had kind of forgotten about, but
cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm about 1,000,000 years away from needing any of that, but good to know.
Well, yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, I know when I was working for like Marvel and DC, you know, you're always searching for the next gig, and there were gaps where I would have no work. They always encouraged me to pitch. So I would get like a team together, we'd put together maybe a couple of pages and a brief synopsis of what we had in mind, but unfortunately nothing ever hit. But we were always like, oh, you should do a pitch, but nothing developed.
Yeah, what it seems like if you're like not a big name or something like that, you've got to like, you know, you got to pitch like 100 things before one really is gonna
Yeah.
stick. Even when that thing sticks, it still might not ever see the light of day, you know. And if you really are passionate about it, that's when you just make it a. That's when you start a Kickstarter.
That's what I was gonna say. You know, this world of like, you know, do it yourself and self-funding, and it's almost like, I don't know, getting an agent and trying to go to a book publisher and get a deal to do your book. I don't know. Is it
Yeah,
better?
it almost seems like.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like in music, all through the '90s and the early part of the 2000s, I was in bands that had record labels. And granted, we were playing punk rock and not what people think punk rock is for the last 20 years. We were playing like aggressive. Your parents hate this music, punk rock. You know.
Yeah.
And that's already like real small scene and stuff, but you kind of still needed the help of a label, you know. And now I'm still playing in a band that's like, you know, this like really fast, aggressive, you know, early influence kind of punk stuff. And we're just like, we're even selling cassettes now, you know, just ourselves, because it's like with the internet and stuff, and as small as that kind of music is, yeah, you just don't need them anymore, you know. And you know, they take too much money, you know, away from you.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're talking like, you know, a Scholastic or Simon & Schuster or, you know, any of those, they're making a lot more money than you are, but they've got the distribution, you know, and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. You just gotta whale that stuff out, you know.
Right. Well, that's lots of good info there. That's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
I hope so. I feel like a windbag a little bit.
Well, you're the expert in the subject of the room, you know what I mean? So none of us have agents.
So,
have any of you guys had agents before and fired them or anything? Or just left on good terms? Or
I did actually have an agent when I worked in comics a long time ago, back in like the 90s. It was just that for that short time. I don't think that there really even are comic book agents anymore. Like, it was just kind of that whirlwind of like the market of the 90s, you know. So.
Yeah, there's a I think if comic book artists have agents, this is maybe me just hypothesizing. It's because they don't just want to do comics. Because like, I know there's some people that are repped by my agent, and they just have comic portfolios on there.
Right.
So, you know.
Oh,
but,
so
So I'm assuming they're getting comic book work, and that's probably what they're still doing. And I bet that's still their house accounts, but they've used that to have this agent get them stuff. Because like I would really love to do comics in like oh god, I forgot the term, but it's like the Franco-Belgian comics, where you get like a whole year to do them, and they're hardback.
The next hardback box. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do that kind of stuff, because, man, working on comics in the U.S. is.
Yeah.
Man, that money, you might as well work at McDonald's. The reason why I do.
Oh no.
I mean, it's not that bad, but you know, I'm exaggerating, but you know, and it might just be the grass is greener, and just what I've heard about the European comics. It might totally be untrue, but God, those things are beautiful, and they don't worry about like, and they don't worry about like a comic coming out every Wednesday. It's like, oh, there's 2 books a year.
Yeah.
You know, I prefer that comic
I don't
model.
know if you know Jamal.
What'd you say, Peter?
He's a comic book artist. He's working for some independent publisher. I forget at the moment, but he was doing a lot of work for DC. But he also did, I think it was Humongous. What was the European publisher hardcover editions? I forget.
Humanoids.
Humanoids. Humongous. Dominion, I believe, was the title. He did a couple of books like that, and I assisted him a little bit on that. And it was printed in France, and you know, it was in French. I don't think it was ever converted from that. Um, but I think it's some decent money off of it.
That's cool.
You know, so if you're serious, I'll hook you up, man. Um,
I've heard that like that whole market is like super like it's like they're really they're like the comic book fans here in the U.S. where it's like nothing but superheroes. They just like nothing but their stuff and they like their artists and they look at like American comic book artists as like they suck. They're not.
Do you
good
hear
enough.
so much about like the superhero title?
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not, but
well, they're more selective because they do a lot less. So, I mean, you can look at it that way, but
more snooty. Is that what you're saying, Peter?
no, I think that's what you said. But,
What I seem to see like coming from over there with those books is like a lot of fantasy stuff, and I don't necessarily mean like Dungeons and Dragons standard like sword and sorcery stuff, which see that too, but it seems like there's a lot of that stuff, and I just kind of wonder it's maybe because there's so much more like hundreds of years of folklore over there than over here,
That could be, yeah.
So. But
Yeah,
and then
definitely not.
superheroes are popular here because they're like kind of our modern folklore, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because they're just all hero stories, just wearing different clothes, I mean, when you're talking about that stuff, I guess, I don't know. It seems like, I don't know.
No, I agree. It's like I was watching like Captain America today, and I was actually thinking that same thing. It's almost like like Jack Kirby set up, when he did Thor and everything and the gods and all that, and I thought, well, the whole Marvel universe is just almost like that. Like the superheroes are like the gods walking among men, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because what's Captain America? He's like a patriotic Hercules.
Right, yeah.
And so somebody probably said that, hey, well, this guy's like a patriotic Hercules, and Stan Lee was like, Excelsior! Make Hercules now!
Right. Right. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, anybody else had an agent or anything in here? I thought somebody else was kind of breaking in when I talked. No?
Not me.
So, what was your experience with the agent, Jeff?
It was good. He took 30%, and he took 30% of everything, no matter where I got it. And so that was a heavy cut, but I was making like quite a bit of money then. And when the bubble burst, everything went down. That was it. And he's like he just sells original art. He's like one of these guys who goes around to cons and sells original art. His name is Stephen Donnelly. I don't know if you see him around, but if you go to a lot of cons, you might. But yeah, I don't think he reps anybody anymore. So it was just like in that time, and there was another big agency around that time. I'm trying to think what their names were, but it was the same kind of deal. It was just comics was just like just there was just so much money in comics right then, right? Like when Image started and all that kind of stuff, they were just exploding,
Yeah, like sometimes I wish, in a way, because if I had done the straight out of high school, go to college, graduate, get a job,
yeah,
I could have been part of that. But instead, I was like, I'm going to go to high school, and I don't want to go to school for a while. I want to be in a band and party.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a crazy. I don't know. That was a weird time in comics.
It seemed hard to get in back then too, though. To me, I don't know if it was like as easy as everybody says, but it seemed like an accomplishment.
Yeah, there was like a growing up, starting to read comics in the late '70s and into the '80s and that kind of stuff. It seemed like there was this mystique, that I still had, but But then all of a sudden, there was #1s all over the place, and there was all these companies popping up and going away and popping up, and it did at one point seem like, when do I get a turn? I'm not even pursuing a professional art career, and someone's going to knock on my door and be like, hey, do you think you can do a fill-in for X-Force?
Right. Totally.
First question, do you know how to draw feet? Okay, right. We got this rich guy that won't go away.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's funny because like one of my like later jobs, like I went off and into this image book, and I was like hired by like this animation company. I think it was called Matinee was the company name, and that's basically what they were. They were a bunch of rich guys that wanted to do comics. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just they hired a bunch of comic book artists to do comics and thought that was gonna work in a way with no sort of editorial control over the whole thing. And they got like the story from this guy who wrote a novel and paid a bunch of money there, and then they were paying us a bunch of money, and the whole thing just was like a car wreck. You know what I mean? Because it's like you can't just do that. You know.
As long as their checks cashed, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Speaking of like making money in comics, have any of you guys? I mean, I heard you guys talking about sketch cards and stuff, but have you guys done any like licensing stuff? The reason why I bring it up is because I got to do some Marvel licensing a couple years ago. Well, more now actually. And for like a little image, you get paid so much more than a page, a full page. So, just throwing that out as something to consider. If you want to do comics, do your own comics, and get in touch with the Marvel Entertainment and DC's licensing or whatever. Do that
right,
stuff.
the packaging, yeah.
Yeah, just draw Batman one time, make $1,000, or draw a whole comic and make 500. It's like.
I just want to mention that John's leaving, so.
Yeah, I got to peace out, guys.
See you, John.
Later.
Thanks for having me.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet everybody I haven't met prior to this. And have a good night.
Good night.
Sweet.
Take care, man.
See ya.
Yeah, I haven't done any kind of like not modern, but like, in the last like 5-10 years, any kind of paid work for anybody. Everything's like been over the net and commissions, but back when I did do comics, I did do some stuff like toy design and all that kind of stuff paid like so much more than comics. Comics were like just the dregs of pay compared to like any kind of package art or anything.
So speaking of sketch cards, I mean, has anybody done any like actual base card art? So like the artwork for the actual printed cards.
Some of the licensing stuff I did, it was the Marvel Superhero Squad, like the little kids version.
Mm-hmm.
It was a card game, like I don't know how it played or anything like that, because like good clients, they didn't send me the finished product, but it looks like it was like Magic or any of those tradable, playable card games, and that was like one of the licensing things I did, if that counts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering how, like, aside from sketch cards, like the art on the cards that actually make up the individual packs, I wonder how well that pays.
I think quite a bit better.
I'm trying to remember how much I made.
I did like the reproduction prints for a baseball card set once. They reproduced the artwork and made the set. Tops did, but we didn't get paid any extra for that.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah. Good old Tops.
I did some random stuff for Marvel, for like their marketing and. But I don't even know where most of it went. It was just like artwork I inked over, and it got put on, I don't know, cereal box or who knows what. But I do remember a, a mini comic that came with the DVD of X-Men 2, but it was a limited edition kind of thing, and it was like the story in between the first movie and the second movie somehow. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And it's good. Anything you do for like the marketing end is much better money
Yeah.
than regular comic page work.
Yeah, working on those cards for that game was, it was almost like like I was stealing money or something. Because you got the card size, and then you're just doing a box up top here, not even the whole card.
Oh yeah, I've seen
And
those.
since it was their superhero squad license, it wasn't any kind of painted work or anything. It was just like, open line style with, flat colors. Just
Yeah.
real quick and easy.
A friend of mine, this is kind of makes me think of this. Is a friend of mine he used to do cards for Wizard of the Coast, that Legend of the Five Rings game, and he did all of his cards like fully painted paintings. They were smaller paintings, but they were like full-on oil paintings. That stuff was all big-time fantasy shit. And I remember, I'm trying to think like what he got paid. I mean, it was super tight. He was like just strapped for cash and time trying to get those things done and all that stuff. But I mean, it's livable money, I think.
It wasn't livable money?
No, I think it was livable money.
Okay, yeah.
He was like making a living at the time.
From what I heard is that they're like a really good company to work for.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody wants to who does that stuff. So,
that kind of made me think of that when Brandon said, not getting paid anything extra to do base cards for that set. It almost seems like the way the industry is going. Like it seems like there's just piles upon piles. Like the line is like 100 deep of artists that are just waiting to step in. Like once you don't work there anymore, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like with that kind of like pressure behind you, I don't know how. You know what I mean? It just seems like the best bet always is to just make your own stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's like, how can you survive in this market unless you become like an Adam Hughes or something? And maybe that's what everybody's betting on. But there's only going to be one of him.
Yeah, and there's only so much room at the top.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think more and more this whole idea of when I started doing videos, it's kind of like, I think I might have even said it in the very first Making Comic or 100 Days video.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I'm trying to transition from 90% clients and 10% my own stuff to years down the road, 90% my stuff and 10% client stuff.
Yeah.
But it just seems more and more that you just can't, obviously there's no gold watch anymore. There's no, at the end of retirement, if any of us ever get to retire at this point.
But even in real life, outside of like art, there's not that much stuff like that. You know what I mean? There's tons of jobs that you can just spend your whole life at, and you're like, see you later.
Yep. Yeah. And so, I think you got to keep doing your own stuff, and then, if you've got some writing chops or something, work on your own properties, and either work on them yourselves, or if you don't, they're not your babies or something, try to sell them off.
Right.
Whatever. It just seems like, as creative people, we should be more and more thinking about, what do we do instead of what do we do for other people? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Just be less of a cog in someone else's machine. I've said this on the videos, stop living other people's dreams, because that's kind of what you're doing a little bit when you're working for another company. They're like, oh, sweet, we got this illustrator who's going to make us X amount of money, and they're willing to take this peanut, and it's going to take away from, a month or two of their, what matters to them and their family or whatever, and shit, we're going to go to the Bahamas. I don't know.
Right.
Well, like working for, big companies, that's good for your resume, but it's also good for like your audience. They like to see, oh, he worked for X, Y, and Z, that must mean he's got some connections. I don't know. It just looks better to people.
Well, yeah.
Um,
I mean, there's this
it's not the reality that sells you. It's the perception.
perception of value. Um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true, and that's unfortunate because it's there's so many great artists that put stuff online, and you see like two people
Yeah.
respond or like their thing, but then they do like a portrait of some superhero that they just shit out real fast, and oh man, they got 600 likes all of a sudden, and and you kind of, the cynic in me starts being like, all these sheep out there, but yeah, it's a weird spot because some of the stuff on my resume really impresses people, but it sure didn't impress my bank account,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true to an extent. The stuff on your resume, but after a certain point, I think it's limited returns. Once you have a couple companies on there, I think it's going to fulfill all it needs to fulfill that way.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I don't know, me and Peter were talking about, there was another girl making the 100 Days of Comics things, and we were kind of just looking over her stuff and her videos and her Patreon and all this kind of stuff, and just like seeing like all this money she was making here and there and like at the Kickstarter and all that. She's completely like unknown, but she's like known on the net. She's built up this audience on the net. I mean, that audience doesn't give a shit if she works for like Scholastic or something. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I even feel like sometimes collectors are people who they'll get like intrigued because they feel like they're discovering new talent before any big business does. Like they're getting in on the ground floor.
Well, there's a market out there for people that aren't famous. You know what I mean? It's obviously there. It's like it's working for me and other people. So, and people can sell art. If you can paint something cool, like there's people that'll buy it. So.
It's all just a matter of having the right person see it.
Yeah, that's a lot of it.
When it comes down to it, I think what people are impressed with are people who work hard. And Jeff, you're doing 5 videos a week. You're making new pieces every day. Like we're talking about that girl. She's been doing her webcomic for years.
Yeah, totally.
Really well done. Impressive. And it's like just pages and pages, books and books of work. That kind of stuff attracts people. If you do an occasional piece, it doesn't really kick up any dust.
That is true. A lot of people, when they're asking like what the secret is and stuff, a lot of the secret is, well, I've been doing it for like 5-6 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, big time investment for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess we should be ending soon, unless you really want to cover anything.
Nah, I'm good.
Well, Jeff is good. Speak for the group.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's 1:30 in the morning here.
Is it?
Oh, wow.
You need to go to bed, dude.
Yeah, I know. I gotta get up and go to work. Well, I gotta go to work, which means getting up and walk into my home office.
That's my commute. Good one.
Yep. Before we end, I wanted to acknowledge the cool artwork that was being done by the rest of us. We're talking. That Herschel piece, Brandon, is awesome.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, that's nice of you to say that. It's just fun to experiment with that digital stuff, but thanks. I didn't know if anyone was looking at it any time. It kind of makes me nervous if I think somebody's looking, so I like the group atmosphere. Rather just draw
it looked really good, dude.
Yeah, it was really nice, man.
Thanks.
I watched every brush stroke.
Could you show us it again? I didn't see it. Near completion.
If I can figure it out.
Okay.
Give me a second.
All right. We got time.
Everybody be quiet while I look for it.
Well, okay. Well, We'll say
John was
goodbyes.
really nice, too.
Andrew, great having you on again. You want to say your website?
Yeah, I am pretty much Atlanta Jones everywhere, so that's kind of my username, for no good reason other than Andrew Jones as a username is impossible to get. So AtlantaJones.com is kind of the hub. And I will be doing Inktober, hopefully posting a pen and ink drawing every day in October if it kills me.
And Atlanta
Video's
Jones
awesome.
like the Southern Indiana Jones. Is that any correlation?
That's kind of where it came from. Was like, my favorite movie is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and when you're that age, when Raiders comes out, I think I was what did that come out in 80? So I was 8 years old, and my name was Jones. So it was like, this movie's made for me. So that was kind of the thing. Is like, in fact, if you go to AtlantaJones.com, the logo looks like the Indiana Jones logo.
That's awesome.
True. Cool. Well, great to have you on again. And
Thanks.
Brandon?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of
There
fun.
it is.
Oh yeah, there's the drawing.
Really nice stuff.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and you guys have a lot of useful information that I'm absorbing. So thank you.
Get on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll renew my account.
Instagram?
Yeah.
What's your website,
Cool, man.
Brandon?
And-
BrandonKinney.com?
I still own the domain, but I pulled it down. I didn't want to renew it, so it'll pop up again eventually. But you can find me. Just Google my
You
name.
hate money, dude.
Every time I make money, I want to do something else.
I know. Oh, too many people are going to my website. Put it down.
Yeah, it's really not a good mentality, I guess.
And we have Jay.
Yep. Well, it was a pleasure to be here. It's really nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, it was nice to have you.
Jay and I are going to get our webcams working, right?
Yeah, I'm trying, buddy. Believe me, I'm trying.
Well, this worked.
You got audio to improve. So what's your website again for everybody?
Airheadscustom.com, Airheads with a Z. And I promise in the next couple of weeks I'm going to be doing a big update to it because I really don't touch it that much.
But you should definitely check it out. It's gorgeous work there.
Yeah, your Instagram actually had a lot of really good stuff, too.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And everybody knows Jeff.
Mm-hmm. JeffLafferty.net. Thanks for coming.
And Jevin.
KenMcCross.net. .net rules.
Yeah.
And I am Peter Palmiotti. I wanted to make a note of I was on Escape Artist by Marshall Couture, his latest episode, his podcast, which included Artcasters and the 100s and other things. So you might want to check that out.
That was a good one.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And if you want to support this show, go to my Patreon page and give me a $1 or $2. And I'm everywhere, so follow me everywhere.
Peter's outside your window right now.
That's right. Okay. That ends this one. Come back next week. We'll do it all again.